This video continues with Chapter 41 Next Target Naruto, one-click full-level system. Chapter 41 Next Target. The huge ruins looked extremely messy. The majestic S-level rebel ninja Kakuzu was lying inside like a salted fish. If Danzo were to see it, the bounty hunter he regarded as his trump card would turn into a lapdog in front of Kinyu. I'm afraid it's hard to accept. Don't worry, you will know in the future that this decision is correct. Kinyu patted Kakuzu on the shoulder. Now that you have lost 4 hearts, I happen to have a very good goal. If you can get it, your strength will definitely increase to a new level. If you haven't seen it with your own eyes, Kinyu's powerful methods. Kakuzu might not believe this. But after enduring the torture of 2 balls, Kakuzu now desperately wants to become stronger. From then on, he stood up in front of Kinyu. What power are you talking about? Kakuzu grabbed Kinyu's arm. Feeling the strength coming from his 5 fingers, Kinyu couldn't help but smile. This world is most afraid of people without ambition. If you say, how can a person become stronger? That will only magnify their ambitions infinitely. For example, Uchiha Obito turned from the tail end of the crane to the big boss behind the scenes. This is the best explanation. You should have heard that the Third Ninja World War was triggered by the disappearance of the third Kazekage in San Ninja Village, right? Kinyu looked at Kakuzu. He acts in the dark all year round, things that people outside may not know. As a bounty hunter, he would have more channels for intelligence. In the world of Kakuzu, there's nothing money can't solve. I know, this incident has caused quite a stir in the city, but I don't know who did it. Kakuzu shook his head. That third Kazekage has a bounty of 10 million taels on the black market. Is he really not from Konoha? No. Kinyu shook his head. I asked you to find someone. After you find him, you try to seize the heart of the third wind shadow from his hands. With iron sand, your strength will reach a new level. Kakuzu's Jyu can obtain this change in chakra attributes by robbing other people's hearts. Iron sand is the same as Kumo Ninja's Dark Thunder. They are all special mutated attributes, which are different from the blood inheritance limit. Others may not be able to obtain this power, but Kakuzu is an exception. There was just one thing that Kinyu couldn't understand, why in the original work, it was clear that ninjutsu could become very powerful. A good hand is often played badly. Could this be the legendary plot kill? Feeling the change in Kinyu's gaze, Kakuzu smiled helplessly and sat upright with difficulty. Old boss. I know you will definitely think that if you have such a powerful secret skill as Earth Resentment why would you go to some special people to seize your body? It's not that I don't want to, it's just that I can't do it alone. Kinyu actually knew about Kakuzu's helplessness. His fame is nothing more than being sent out by Taki Ninja Village to assassinate the first Hokage. After standing in the distance and releasing a shuriken, he was frightened by the eyes and ran away with his tail between his legs. The Taki Ninja Village was afraid that the Dongchuang incident would happen, so after Kakuzu returned, they directly slapped him with an unfounded crime. Kakuzu was so angry that he directly seized the secret technique of resentment. Originally, the overall strength of Taki Ninja Village was no longer good. In the later period of the original work, a Jounin was able to defeat a village. Facing a monster like Kakuzu, he is a perfect target. Do you know the whereabouts of the third Kazekage? Kakuzu couldn't hold his breath anymore. Moonlight Blast and Oyuzian in the distance were startled at first, and were about to step forward. Kinyu's Manjikyo Sharingan suddenly turned and hypnotized the 2 of them instantly. It's not that Kinyu doesn't believe in Mao Yuzian, but he didn't want to implicate her and was monitored by Danzo and Anbu. If a confession is forced, that is even more undesirable. Seeing Kinyu hypnotize Mao Yuzian and Moonlight Blast with a casual glare, he was surprised and finally realized something was wrong. Boss, your Sharingan is the same as Uchiha Madara, right? That day, there were only 2 people in the ninja world who could make Kakuzu flee with just a glare. The first is the first Hokage. The second is Uchiha Madara. As a person who survived the first ninja war, Kakuzu was no stranger to Uchiha Madara's existence. Absolutely. Kinyu didn't hide it. Since you want a person to work for you wholeheartedly, if you can't even shock him, how can you sacrifice your life for yourself? Let's get down to business first. Kinyu brought the topic back and said, "You have many connections in the black market. Let me check on a person named Red Sand Scorpion. If you find him and ask him to give you the heart of the third Kazekage, he will need a lot of materials to make a human puppet, and he must keep the person alive before he can transform it. The biggest special thing about human puppets is that they can possess the ninjutsu of their own lifetime. Although the puppet core is also needed for Kinyu, it is good for Jayadu to be able to obtain iron sand. However, it would also be great if we could recruit the Red Sand Scorpion. Moreover, if Orochimaru is not found, he can still be reproductively cultivated, which would be the best of both worlds." "Are you talking about that brat?" Kakuzu's expression froze. Kinyu raised his eyebrows. "Do you know him?" "Of course I know him." Kakuzu nodded. "This kid likes to make puppets. Sometimes he will buy some corpses from me that are not dead yet. He will also place bounties on me and ask me to catch some living people. I didn't expect that he would be so crazy that he would attack the third Kazekage. Let's start. That's the leader of his village." Kinyu was helpless for a moment. Unexpectedly, one of the people he wanted to recruit was full of copper odor. One is heterosexual. It seems that the Akatsuki organization is full of weirdos. However, how could they end up on the same road if they were not traveling in the same way? Since you know where he is, you should go first. There are a few root ninjas over there who have just arrived. You should be able to deal with them, right? Kinyu glanced at the woods not far away. The expressions of the three root ninjas who had just arrived and were hiding inside for surveillance changed drastically. There was no time to think too much, and he quickly planned to retreat. The purpose of their visit this time was to monitor the battle between Kakuzu and Kinyu, and then report back to Danzo. However, they never expected it. I thought it would be a protracted battle, but I never expected it. After hearing the explosion and arriving later, the battle was over. "Boss, don't worry. They can't get out of my hands. If they go find that guy, I'd better change my heart first." Kakudu smiled ferociously. In the dense forest, dark blood vessels shot out instantly. Like a big net, it covered the three root ninjas overwhelmingly. Chapter 42. Back alive. Ah! 3 screams suddenly sounded. It came to an abrupt end soon. With the help of the Manjikayo Sharingan, Kinyu saw a large blood vessel shooting out of the ground without warning, directly piercing the bodies of the 3 root ninjas. With the devouring of blood, Kakuzu, who was originally weak, gradually regained his breath. The 3 hearts were forcefully dug out and lodged directly in Kakuzu. Feeling his slightly recovered strength, Kakuzu secretly breathed a sigh of relief and finally stood up. "Boss, I'm leaving first. Do you need me to deal with Danzo?" A hint of murderous intent flashed across Kakuzu's face. Danzo's intelligence error this time almost cost him his life. If it weren't for Kinyu, he would have finally wanted to recruit. "I'm afraid he is now a cold corpse." "No need, you don't have to worry about this matter, I'll handle it myself." Kinyu patted Kakuzu on the shoulder. "Let's go." Kakuzu couldn't help being startled and said, "Boss, don't you need to do something to me? If I run away like this, you will lose more than you gain." In Kakuzu's eyes, there are many undercover spies from various countries. For the sake of safety and confidentiality, each of them will use some illusions, secret techniques, forbidden techniques, etc. to control remotely. Originally, the hardest thing for Kakuzu to accept was to endure the pain of being manipulated. "No need. Using small tricks on you will feel disadvantageous," Kinyu said with a smile. "Moreover, I believe in my charisma and domineering power. The entire ninja world will tremble." These words seemed to be a joke. However, when it fell in Kakuzu's ear, his expression couldn't help but change. After witnessing Kinyu's powerful methods with his own eyes. Like Uchiha Madara, there are also blood moon eyes that symbolize disaster. He knew that this young man might not be aiming for nothing. Kakuzu took a deep breath, cleared his thoughts, and said, "Boss, I'm leaving first. If there is any news, I will contact you as soon as possible." After watching Kakuzu leave, Kinyu walked to Oyuzian and Moonlight Hate and Hai. With a flip of the magic seal in his hand, Yu Guang Kaifeng and Oyuzian woke up from their drowsiness. "Kinyu, why did I fall asleep? I seemed to have had a dream just now. There were S-level traitorous ninjas coming to assassinate us." Oyuzian rubbed her hazy eyes. When he saw the ruins in front of him, he was completely stunned. "I'm afraid this is not a dream. Let's go, it's almost time. If we continue to stay here, I'm afraid Konoha will send people to find us." Kinyu rubbed Oyuzian's head. When he used the Manjikaiu Sharingan just now, Kinyu didn't do anything. Mao Yuzian came back to her senses a little and glared. "Kinyu, can't you always treat me like a little girl and rub my head?" Compared with Kinyu, Mao Yuzian is similar in age. However, in terms of height, Kinyu is already 1.7 meters tall, which is obviously a head taller than Mao Yuzian, who is over 1.5 meters tall. Not only can you see the top of your head, but you can also comfortably touch your head to kill. In front of Konoha's sealed gate, due to the emergence of Uchiha Kinyu, he defeated the Cloud Ninja and Mist Ninja with a strong posture. This caused Konoha's top management to attach great importance to it. No, it should be said that even the younger generation within the Uchiha clan was shocked. I thought that with the emergence of Uchiha Shisui, he would be able to surpass the entire era. Not long ago, even the brat of the Uchiha clan leader showed his talents and was hailed as a little genius when he first entered the ninjutsu school. Now suddenly a genius appears who has been bullied for more than 10 years and has been dormant. This gap is a little hard to accept. It is for this reason that the Uchiha clan also sent out guards to wait here. Facing them face to face were Namikaze Minato and the rare Danzo. A few minutes ago, after Namikaze Minato finished dealing with trivial matters, he returned to Konoha and unexpectedly found Danzo, who had always been invisible to Shenlong, appearing in front of the city gate. When he was surprised, his heart was also hanging. Thinking of what happened in the stronghold, when Danzo appeared here, it was obviously a weasel paying New Year's greetings to the chicken. "No, it's already past the agreed time. I'll go take a look." Namikaze Minato glanced at it, and the Chunin stationed at the gate couldn't help but take action. "Haha, Minato, you just came back. Where are you going now?" Danzo was obviously staring at Minato all the time. At the moment when the Flying Thunder magic seal was formed, he quickly stepped forward to interrupt. "Danzo-sama, the 3 Chunin I led exceeded the agreed time. I was worried that something might happen, so I wanted to take a look," Namikaze Minato said in a deep voice. There was a hint of coldness in his words. Minato Namikaze was also dissatisfied with Danzo's repeated attacks on Kinyu. However, at the moment, Namikaze Minato has no reason for the lateness of Kinyu and others, and it is difficult to directly refute it. "Haha, Minato, you are indeed the favorite to be the next Hokage. You even do things safely." Danzo was still smiling, but in his heart, he was silently calculating the time it would take Kakudu to deal with Kinyu. Looking at Minato with an impatient face, Danzo smiled even more. In his eyes, the longer the delay, the greater the chance that Minato would be waiting to collect the body. 15 minutes have passed now, with the strength of the S-level rebel ninja and the help of the Fuma ninja. It is not too difficult to deal with a mere Chunin. Even if this Chunin has a secret, he is no exception. "Danzo-sama, are you specifically trying to stop me from saving people?" Namikaze Minato's expression darkened slightly. Originally the team was led by him. If anything happens to Kinyu and others, he will be blamed. Minato, your words have given me chills. Danzo said this, but his smile became even brighter. You know, everything I do is for Konoha. What's more, I don't know what you are talking about. I just saw that this place is very busy, so I came here to join in the fun and see who you are waiting for here. At this Danzo smiled and shook his head. However, judging from your expression, the chance of not waiting is probably slim. Then I'll go back first. I hope the little friend you see can arrive safely. 15 minutes have passed. The monitors he sent did not send a notification signal. From Danzo's point of view, Kinyu and others will undoubtedly die. It is for this reason that there is not much use in staying here. Minato, why are you here? Kinyu's voice suddenly sounded. The steps Danzo took and the smile on his face immediately stiffened. Chapter 43 Tit for Tat. Kinyu, nothing happened on your way. How come you were delayed for 15 minutes? Namikaze Minato said with a happy face. However, when he looked at Danzo, there was more of a hint of provocation. A moment ago, he kept saying it was impossible, and now Kinyu suddenly appeared. This slap was a slap in the face. Nothing happened, we were just tired and took a rest. Kinyu smiled and patted Namikaze Minato on the shoulder. Is there something wrong? If not, I will go back and rest first. This scene immediately made the guards standing not far away become restless. Have you seen that useless Uchiha Kinyu is actually the same as Namikaze Minato? Their relationship seems to be going well. Konoha is so quick to win over people, no wonder it can become the popular candidate for the next Hokage. The leader of the guard team. He was obviously a man in his early 20s with a thin build and hostile eyes. Kinyu remembered that this one seemed to be called Uchiha Stone. Has double Magatama Sharingan. Before the rise of Uchiha Shisui, he was known as the rising star of the Uchiha clan and a hope. It's a pity that at the moment when Uchiha Shisui became famous overnight, the Uchiha Stone was instantly turned into dregs. Now that another Uchiha Kinyu appears, he may feel dissatisfied. However, Kinyu didn't take all this seriously. In this world where strength is respected, there is nothing that cannot be solved with fists. If that doesn't work, take another punch. You are Uchiha Kinyu. You are indeed a young hero. You have been able to successfully reach Konoha village despite such dangers along the way. It seems that the legend is true. Danzo turned around and said with a smile. However, the half-smiling expression all over his body gave people an inexplicable sense of depression. According to Kinyu, riding on a horse means hiding a knife behind a smile. Thank you for your concern. Except for a few flies along the way, there seems to be no trouble. Kinyu smiled warmly. In other words, I am too lucky, and I am still working under Danzo-sama. Maybe some of my subordinates are too unlucky to get lost and cannot come back. Having said this, Kinyu met Danzo's gaze without any concessions, and his smile became even brighter. Lord Danzo, do you think a watchdog that bites people should be killed? Don't let me see those two beasts, otherwise I will not show mercy to anyone. After the words fell, Kinyu's pair of kaleidoscope Sharingan eyes suddenly started to rotate. Immediately afterwards, the huge pupil power detonated like a frenzy, turning into a wave of air and sweeping away. However, this breath comes and goes quickly. It quickly disappeared. Such a powerful eye power. Danzo's expression froze. But when he looked at Kinyu, there was a hint of greed deep in his pupils. Danzo has a love-hate relationship with the Uchiha clan. What he hates is the Uchiha clan, but what he loves is their Sharingan. Moreover, it was learned from the intelligence that Kinyu's eyes were obviously different from the Sharingan eyes of ordinary tribesmen. Now after seeing it with his own eyes, Danzo is even more certain that these eyes are definitely similar to the kaleidoscope recorded by the second Hokage. The most important thing is the power of the pupil power that just burst out. If it is not measured by the Manjikayo Sharingan, it is absolutely inexplicable. Uchiha Kinyu, you are really different. You can even awaken the legendary eyes. Maybe you will surpass Uchiha Shisui and become a peerless genius in the clan. Danzo pointed out directly. Uchiha Ishii and other members of the security team couldn't help but change their expressions. They are both members of the Uchiha clan, and they are very happy when a strong person appears in the clan. But who doesn't think that he is the strong one? Now the former crane tail has become the peerless genius Danzo calls him. He also awakened the legendary Sharingan. This kind of treatment is enough to twist people's hearts. Haha, Lord Danzo, you are really good at joking. Maybe compared with you, I am not good enough for you. Kinyu laughed dryly. If you are fine, I will go and report on my duties. That's right, I almost forgot about this. Namikaze Minato quickly took over. The third Hokage, you and the two Konoha advisors have been waiting for a long time. Let's go and report first. Xian, Hayate, you go back and rest first. You are also tired during this period, so don't wander around. When Yu Guangjifen heard this, he felt relieved. After taking a look at Kinyu, he quickly thanked him, turned around and left. Mao Yuzian felt a little reluctant to give up, but feeling the atmosphere in the venue, she also knew that it was not the right time to stay. After giving Kinyu a worried look, he turned and left. For a moment, the huge city gate had an inexplicable and depressing smell. Minato, let's go. Kinyu patted Namikaze Minato on the shoulder. Don't keep the third generation waiting. If you like it, Danzo-sama, then continue to stay here. Maybe you will be able to wait until you wish. After leaving these words, Kinyu took the lead and walked towards the Hokage building. Namikaze Minato smiled helplessly. However, he also disagreed with Danzo's approach. Now that Danzo was able to suffer a loss, it was too late for Minato Namikaze to be happy. He would not even protect Danzo's weak mind. Watching Kinyu and Namikaze Minato leave, Uchiha Stone left with the security team with a gloomy expression. Danzo-sama, are you still waiting? It's already time for me to change my shift. The Chunin guarding the seal gate asked weakly. Get out of here. Are you qualified to ask Danzo-sama? Shenfeng flashed out of the darkness. Iburaim Takshin was also following behind her, and the two of them looked obviously unhappy. Danzo said nothing. He was still worried about what Kinyu said just now. Although he said it a little vaguely, when he thought of the Sharingan he had worked so hard to collect on his arm. There was also a secret deal with Orochimaru, but there was a feeling of being seen through in my heart. As the founder of Roots, Danzo is also a high-ranking official in Konoha. Whether it was his mind or his strategy, even the city government asked himself that not even the third Hokage could compete with him. However, this time, not only did the assassination fail, but even a kid couldn't see through it. For the first time, Danzo understood what it felt like to be unable to figure things out. Danzo-sama, didn't you ask the S-level rebellious ninja from Taki Ninja Village to intercept and kill Uchiha Kinyu? Why is he okay? Shenfeng couldn't hold back his anger. When he thought of Long Yi's death in the mountains, he wanted to tear Kinyu Sheng apart. Feng, don't be nervous. Could it be that the boy changed his walking route and lost all his strength? Iburaim Torin said in a deep voice. Otherwise, with this kid's character, if Kakuzu really misses, he will definitely attack now. In response to these words, Danzo also nodded silently. Go find someone, contact Kakuzu, and check the inn at the same time. I want the results within 30 minutes. Don't worry, Danzo-sama, I'm going now. Shenfeng couldn't hold his breath anymore. Putting aside these words, he turned around and rushed out of the sealed gate. He was now eager to verify Iburaim's words. However, another thought flashed through my mind from time to time. Chapter 44. Let me show you the Sharingan. In the Hokage's office, the third Hokage, Koharu and Maido Manobu were in bed, closing their eyes and concentrating without saying a word, which gave the huge office an inexplicable sense of depression. Sarutobi, do you think he will come? Maido Kedoyan suddenly said. After turning to bed, Koharu also looked at the third Hokage. As soon as these words fell, the venue fell into a brief silence, and the third Hokage said, I believe in Minato, and I believe that he will definitely come. If you can't survive even these dangers, how can you possibly defeat the Cloud Ninja and the Mist Ninja? Even AI in the AB combination admits his strength. When they went to bed, Koharu and Maido Kedoyan looked stagnant. This answer was obviously not what they expected. Sarutobi, are you thinking of things too simply? Maido Kedoyan said. Soon an Anbu ninja appeared in the office like a ghost. Find the bounty hunter information handed over to Danzo. In addition to the Fuma clan, there is also Kakuzu who sneaked into the first Hokage in the past and attacked and killed the senior officials of Taki Ninja Village. Anbu Ninja took out a scroll. Is it him? Maido Kedoyan and Koharu's expressions changed. However, a trace of joy flashed in his pupils. There was a slight change in expression on the third Hokage's slightly aged cheeks. Inform Minato Namikaze and have him come to see me immediately. Regarding Namikaze Minato and Kinyu's importance, the third Hokage felt a little calm at first. However, after learning that Danzo actually found this kind of monster to intercept and kill him, he couldn't hold back his anger at all. Sarutobi, you are working too hard. If that kid dies, he will die. We don't have to worry too much. Don't forget, this is wartime and it is also a critical moment. Koharu suddenly spoke after he went to bed. Maido Kedoyan nodded in agreement. Koharu is right. It will be a good thing for Konoha to have one less thing to worry about. Seeing that Konoha's two major advisors gave such an answer, the third Hokage's expression froze, but he chose to quickly open the door and prepare to go in person. Lord Hokage, I brought Kinyu. As soon as the third Hokage opened the door, he saw Namikaze Minato and a slightly unfamiliar face. Is it him? Maido Kedoyan and Koharu's expressions couldn't help but change, and they couldn't help but stand up. Looking at Kinyu standing side by side with Minato Namikaze at the office door, he looked a little dazed. In their eyes, Kinyu is too young. At only 14 or 15 years old, he has the strength to defeat the Kumo ninja and Mist ninja alone. This is something even they can't compare to. If he grows up, his future strength is even more unimaginable. Are you Uchiha Kinyu? The third Hokage secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Come in and take a rest first. You are different from what I expected. Seeing the third Hokage give way to the door, Kinyu walked in without any restraint. Namikaze Minato was startled, touched the tip of his nose helplessly, and followed closely. HMPH, you rude brat. Sayachan snorted coldly when he went to bed. However, as soon as the words came out of his mouth, he met Kinyu's gaze. The moment the four eyes met, scarlet blood quickly spread in Kinyu's pupils. The moment the 9 Magatama Sharingan suddenly turned, it exuded an inexplicable smell of disaster awe. When she went to bed, Sayachan's expression changed drastically. Boy, how dare you? Maido Menyon swayed and appeared beside Kinyu. His right hand turned into an eagle claw and he directly grabbed Kinyu. Sealing technique water chain binding. A mysterious curse seal formation spread rapidly with Maido Menyon's right foot as the center. At the same time, 4 chains made of water condensed out of thin air and quickly wrapped around Kinyu's body. However, as soon as this attack came out, Maido Kedoyan felt that the world was changing, just like the stars were shifting. Illusion solution. The third Hokage shouted urgently. Maido Kedoyan woke up suddenly. While gasping for air, he found that the water chain restraint he had just used had actually entangled his limbs. Sayachan, who was sleeping next to him, was sweating profusely. Kinyu, what are you doing? Maido Manoyan shouted angrily, come here, catch him immediately. Angry roars echoed in the office. However, not a single Anbu ninja appeared around him. Don't get excited. I know you guys want to know what kind of eye skills I have. I just demonstrated it a little bit. Kinyu smiled warmly. Illusion hypnosis eye. As long as you have brief eye contact with me, you will be hypnotized instantly. Of course, if a ninja is strong, determined, and experienced in combat, such a simple hypnotic eye will not be able to have an effect on him until Kinyu's 9 Megatama Sharingan faded away, and the illusion was instantly lifted. The Anbu hiding in the surroundings landed in the office one after another, 8 in total. Moreover, the aura exuding from each one of them is that of a veteran who has experienced many battles. Boy, are you laughing at us for being hypnotized? Mido Menion's face darkened and he shouted angrily, "Come here, catch him quickly." The 8 Anbu present were startled. After looking at each other, they looked at the third Hokage. They are Anbu directly under the Hokage, and they only take orders from the Hokage. Koharu and Mido Kaden are high-ranking officials and advisors of Konoha. But it is absolutely impossible to get them to act. Back off. The third Hokage waved his hand. The 8 Anbu ninjas disappeared without any hesitation. When they went to bed, Koharu and Mido Kadoyan's expressions changed. Sarutobi, what do you mean? He attacked the top management of Konoha and even made trouble in the Hokage's office. This should be punished. Koharu shouted urgently as he went to bed. Mido Kadoyan didn't say anything, but when he thought about being hit by an illusion just now, he was restrained by the water whip he cast. This made him feel embarrassed. Okay, can you just demonstrate it a little? I will handle this matter, you don't need to say anything. The third Hokage said without any doubt. Besides, I am the Hokage. If you are not hurt, just shut up. Koharu and Mido Kaden's expressions couldn't help but change when they went to bed. For Hiruzen Sarutobi, who had always been a conservative, they knew that they would only show such toughness when they decided the fate of Konoha. After looking at Kinyu, Mido Kadoyan snorted coldly and said, "Since the Hokage does not need our presence, as Konoha consultants, Koharu and I will leave first. I hope the third Hokage will not do anything that will endanger the foundation of Konoha. Otherwise, we don't mind going to the daimyo." Chapter 45 The Third Hokage's Decision. Putting aside these threatening words, Mido Kaden and Koharu turned around and walked out of the Hokage's office. When he left, his murderous gaze made him want to devour Kinyu alive. Okay, Minato, please close the door. The third Hokage did not take their words to heart. As the Hokage of Konoha, the third generation still has a high reputation. If Mido Kabuto and Koharu were casually frightened, how could they do anything important? Lord Hokage, if you end like this, it seems that the 2 advisors will run to Danzo's camp. Kinyu was the first to speak. As soon as Minato Namikaze closed the door, he felt a headache. He had already expected that Kinyu's unruly character would definitely cause things to get out of hand. Unexpectedly, as soon as they arrived at the Hokage's office, they would directly start a fight with Koharu and Mido Katabu, who had moved to another dormitory. Even more, Namikaze Minato didn't expect that the hypnotic effect of the main Jikayo Sharingan would be so powerful. Even Konoha's 2 top advisors were caught off guard and fell directly into the trap. Uchiha Kinyu, you really hide it well. With your mind and courage, I really don't know how to describe you. The third Hokage smiled and shook his head. You obviously have such great strength, but you have hidden your edge for more than 10 years. I can say that you have a mind like a monster. Regarding this evaluation, Kinyu also smiled and said nothing. After all, I can't tell the third Hokage that I am a time-traveling army who just happened to seize the body of this short-lived ghost, and then used a cheat to become stronger instantly. Moreover, now that the third generation of Hokage has personally brainstormed to help him find excuses, why wouldn't Kinyu do it? Seeing Kinyu smiling and saying nothing, the third Hokage frowned and changed his way of speaking. Kinyu, I want to know why you did this and why you suddenly took action after hiding for so long. Is it because you don't want to see the past lost or because you don't want to see other people die? In other words, you have other people you care about and you don't want them to die. Having said this, Namikaze Minato couldn't help but look at Kinyu. Moreover, he secretly nodded to the third Hokage's straightforward question. At least, during this period of contact with Kinyu, Namikaze Minato knew Kinyu's character very well. Kinyu, please remember that any answer will depend on whether you can stay in Konoha Ninja Village. Of course, I hope that you, like Minato, will become a powerful new force in our Konoha Ninja Village. The third generation of Naruto. I couldn't help but add it again. Looking at the solemn expression of the third Hokage, Kinyu smiled warmly. I have no interest in the position of Hokage, and I have no so-called sense of belonging in the fight between your factions. However, I don't like other people sneaking around. If you don't like me, you can come over. In other words, if you are not afraid of death, I don't mind killing one or two. Kinyu's smile became brighter and brighter. After a short pause, he said, I just want to be my salted fish. Salted fish? Namikaze Minato and the third Hokage couldn't help but be startled. They obviously couldn't think of such a fresh and refined adjective. Kinyu, what is salted fish? Namikaze Minato couldn't help but ask. When the third Hokage heard this, even the Anbu in the dark showed a hint of urgency. After all, judging from what Kinyu just said, his attitude will shake the safety of Konoha. Susanoo just has time to bask in the sun, bask in the front, and then bask in the back. Kinyu explained while touching the tip of his nose. For this kind of life, in the eyes of previous lives, this is a symbol of successful people. Imagine being there while someone else is at work. Basking in the sun and beach by myself. From time to time, a beautiful girl wearing less cloth would help me turn over and apply sun oil. Isn't life just a salty fish? Namikaze Minato was confused. No. It should be said that even the expressions of the third Hokage and the Anbu hiding in the shadows became stiff. This salty fish life is too much nonsense. Kinyu, is your request really that simple? The third Hokage couldn't hold back his anger. If you are willing, I can promote you to an elite jounin and publish your records so that you have the same power as Minato. Even the Anbu ninjas were surprised by the delicious food thrown by the third Hokage. Namikaze Minato has long been regarded as the successor of the next generation of Hokage, and his identity and status are completely unique. Now the third Hokage puts forward this condition as soon as he opens his mouth. That probably means admitting that Kinyu has the qualifications to compete for Hokage. No need. Being Hokage is a lot of trouble. I don't want to age prematurely, lose my hair and become gray, or die for the village if I'm not careful. I'd better leave this fearless spirit to Minato. Kinyu didn't care at all. If there's nothing else, I'll go back and rest first. After leaving these words, Kinyu turned around and left. When Namikaze Minato saw this, his expression froze, and he was about to say something to dissuade him, but he saw the third Hokage shaking his head to stop him. As the door of the office closed again, the third Hokage pondered for a moment and said, Minato, what do you think? Is what Kinyu just said about salted fish true? Regarding Kinyu's salted fish theory, the third Hokage now has a headache when he thinks about it. This is too ridiculous. Hokage-sama, I think Kinyu is trustworthy. Namikaze Minato's expression flickered and he said, from the beginning, he has clearly understood the situation of the Uchiha clan. Not only did he not have any hatred, he also gave up the secret that he had hidden for more than 10 years when facing hundreds of Yunin and AB combination during the Yunin raid, and even came to rescue him. This proves Kinyu's heart. Still in Konoha. After defeating the Kumo ninja, I know that Danzo will definitely be angry with him because of the mountain wind and Aburame's roots. Not only did he not escape, he also defeated the mist ninja's sneak attack again. Now he is following me back to Konoha. With the strength he just showed, he sneaked away in the middle. Who can stop him? Having said this, Namikaze Minato looked at the third Hokage. He knew clearly that no matter how much he said, the person who could really make the decision was the third Hokage. Minato, I know your thoughts very well. The third Hokage pondered for a moment and then said, the matter of Uchiha Kinyu will be left to you. I hope you can make him a sharp spear in the hands of Konoha, and shine as brightly as you. The departure of the three ninjas is actually an important trigger for the Third Ninja War. Chapter 46 All Dead. A low voice echoed in the office. Namikaze Minato's expression froze, and he fell into a brief silence. During the Second Ninja War, Sancho Hanzo gave Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Orochimaru the title of Sannin. It can be said that for a time, the Sannin was in the limelight in the huge ninja world. The appearance of three people on any battlefield is enough to dominate a battle situation. If we put these three people on every battlefield now, the three major countries would want to offend the land of fire. Still need to weigh one or two. Unfortunately, Orochimaru's betrayal and Tsunade's post-traumatic stress disorder, and Jiraiya's departure. For Konoha, it was a huge blow. If Kinyu, a new force, joins now, it will be the best thing to end the current Third Ninja War. Hokage-sama, don't worry. I have a good relationship with Fugaku. With his help, Kinyu will be nothing more than a salty fish at best. Namikaze Minato said the last thing, remembering what Kinyu just said. He couldn't help but smile bitterly. The third Hokage also smiled helplessly and shook his head. With your words, I feel at ease. Regarding the Kanabi Bridge, the latest news has been returned. I hope you will take the time to visit it as soon as possible. The Iwa Ninja has mobilized a large number of elites. The battle between them and the Kumo ninja seems to be coming to an end. Outside, Koharu and Maido Kadabu walked out of the Hokage building with gloomy expressions. It's Danzo. Maido Menyon raised his eyebrows. Let's go over and take a look. After turning to bed, Sayachan put aside these words and walked quickly over. Why are you down here? Where did that kid go? Danzo was about to return to the Hokage building. HMPH, that kid is too arrogant. He even cast illusions on us in the Hokage's office. But his eyes are too scary. I'm afraid he is proficient in illusions. Maido Kadon said angrily. Danzo, didn't you ask Kakuto, the S-level rebel ninja, to intercept him? Why did you fail? Powerful illusion? Danzo's expression changed slightly and he said, it seems that Sarutobai's intelligence network is still so powerful. He even knows who I'm looking for. I did find the traitorous ninja Kakuto of Taki Ninja Village and the Fuuma clan to intercept and kill him, but judging from the expression on that kid's face, I'm afraid he secretly changed his route and escaped. HMPH, I knew he was just a coward who was greedy for life and afraid of death. How could he be the opponent of S-level rebel ninja Kakuto? Maido Kadon snorted coldly. This kid is too unruly and unruly. I'm worried that he can't be used by Konoha. Danzo, you should contact Kakuzu as soon as possible and try to solve it. Sayachan didn't say a word when she went to bed, but her expression already showed what she meant. Looking at Koharu and Maido Kado, who were still standing in Sarutobi Hiruzen's camp, a smile appeared on Danzo's face. Don't worry. This time Sarutobi made such a decision, which has already endangered the foundation of Konoha. I will contact Kakuzu as soon as possible and try to deal with that kid. However, regarding the position of the next Hokage, I wonder if you will also it's time to think about it. For Danzo, this is his best chance to capture Hokage. If there are two high-level executives, Koharu and Maido Manobu, if there is evidence that Hiruzen Sarutobai's decision failed, then he will have enough chances to win and compete with Minato Namikaze for the position of the next generation of Hokage in front of the daimyo. Maido Kadoyan and Koharu, who had gone to bed, couldn't help but look stagnant. They had already expected it, but he didn't expect that Danzo would make no secret of Hokage's position. Danzo-sama, the mountain wind has returned. Iburame Tojin suddenly spoke. Danzo glanced at the hesitant Mido Kaden and Koharu, and then said, "You don't have to make a decision too quickly. I will ask Shenfeng and Kakudu to contact him and let him deal with Kinyu as soon as possible. You go back and think about it again. This is a critical moment in the war. The 4 major countries are attacking us, the Fire Country, at the same time. The daimyo is already furious. All this is because of Sarutobai's so-called steady thinking. What about recuperation? If he had listened to me earlier, he used his persuasion and used iron-fisted measures to frighten the 4 major countries. Our Konoha ninja village is unique in the world. No one dares to offend us." Mido Kado and Koharu, who had transferred to the dormitory, fell into silence. Shinfeng also arrived in a hurry, his head covered with hot sweat, and his face looked anxious. If he hadn't been panting heavily, he might have lost his composure and wanted to speak first. "Feng, please speak slowly. They are also in our camp now," Danzo said with a faint smile. "You should contact Kekuzu now. The target has returned to Konoha. We will try to create opportunities for him to take action. This time only success is allowed, no failure is allowed. Lost, failed, Danzo-sama, Kakuzu and the Fuma clan may have failed." Shanfeng didn't care too much. Danzo's smile suddenly stiffened and his cheeks twitched as he said, "Feng, what are you talking about? What happened?" In Danzo's eyes, no matter how powerful Uchiha Kinyu was, he could not compare with an S-level rebellious nin who had been famous for a long time and had massacred high-ranking officials. Dead. All the elites of the Fang Mo clan were killed. There are traces of large-scale battles in the inn, Shinfeng said with a livid expression. Among them, judging from the damage traces of some ninjutsu, the power has reached the S level. What? The expressions of Danzo, Mido Kaden, and Koharu who had transferred to the dormitory all changed. Although Kinyu was in a group of 3, they did not believe that 2 newcomers, Moonlight Hayate and Oyuki Zion, could perform such powerful ninjutsu. As for, if this so-called S-level ninjutsu comes from Kakuzu's hands, then there is absolutely no way Kinyu can come back alive. After much scrutiny, it was proved that this S-level ninjutsu was probably in the hands of Kinyu. His ability to come back alive means that the S-level rebel ninja Kekudo they had high hopes for may have fallen. When they thought of this, Mido Kedoyan and Koharu, who was sleeping in the dormitory, turned pale. They were tit for tat with Kinyu just now. If he accidentally fell into an illusion and the 3rd Hokage failed to rescue him in time, Kinyu suddenly took action. What awaits them is probably certain death. Mido, Koharu, don't forget what you promised me. Danzo was anxious and quickly returned to this topic. Koharu, the weather is very good today, and we haven't had a cup of coffee for a long time. Mido Kabuto suddenly said. After turning to bed, Sayachan nodded and said, "That's fine, it feels like we haven't gotten together for a long time." Looking at the 2 people who turned around and left after discarding this nonsense, Danzo's expression was extremely livid. "Bastard, bastard." Danzo's face was filled with anger. This was supposed to be the closest he could get to being the Hokage. However, now even Jio was killed by Kinyu, which was beyond his expectation. "Danzo-sama, what should we do now?" Shinfeng couldn't hold back his anger. Now even the S-level traitor Ninja Horn can't kill Uchiha Kinyu. Do we have to watch him in Konoha with blank eyes? Arrogant? Wind, don't be impulsive. Danzo-sama will have a solution. Iburame Toon hurriedly dissuaded her. However, even though he said this in his mouth, he couldn't figure out the truth for a moment in his heart. Even a being like Jayadu can't deal with Kinyu. Who else dares to take action? Don't worry, I've thought of a good candidate. Chapter 47. Your confidence is a bit lacking. The residence of the Uchiha clan is located in the northwest corner of Konoha Ninja Village. It is close to the edge of the village and there are mountains, giving people a feeling that it is easy to defend but difficult to attack. However, it was easier for Konoha to guard the Uchiha clan's gate. This way, we can always be on guard against the defection of the Uchiha clan. After Kinyu left the Hokage building, he walked towards the Uchiha clan's residence. After 2 lifetimes, Kinyu has become cautious. However, there is still a kind of attachment from the soul to this place. This may be the only thing left to Kinyu from the previous soul. Kinyu looked up and saw the simple gate not far away with the emblem of the Uchiha clan engraved on it. Whoosh! The sound of breaking through the air suddenly sounded. Kinyu raised his brows, threw out 3 shurikens with his backhand, turned into a black light, and flew straight to his side. Dang, dang, dang! The sound of 3 metal collisions suddenly sounded. The shuriken was directly deflected. Fire release. Fireball technique. A slightly childish voice suddenly sounded. Kinyu rolled his eyes helplessly, looking at the rolling fireball that was 4 to 5 meters in diameter. His hands flew quickly, forming a series of magic seals. Water release. Water dragon bullet technique. The water dragon burst into flames and directly collided with the fireball. Boom! There was a thunderous explosion, and water mist rose into the sky. It's enough, Itachi. If you want to fight, wait until next time. Like a ghost, Kinyu passed through the wind and waves of the explosion, appeared behind Itachi, and held his shoulders. Itachi was surprised. His hands were still forming seals quickly, but he didn't expect Kinyu to be so fast. Surprisingly, even his was only slightly captured. You opened the Magatama Sharingan when you were only 6 years old. Itachi, you are really amazing. Kinyu patted Itachi on the shoulder. Even Uchiha Kinyu in his previous life loved this cousin very much. Moreover, Uchiha Itachi also took care of his relatively cowardly and introverted cousin. Brother, you usually hide it really well. Itachi Uchiha turned around, his face a little unhappy. Kinyu touched the tip of his nose helplessly and said, I just don't want to cause trouble, but if I can't escape this time, there is no other way. Aren't you in a ninja school? You're not using your shadow clone to skip class, are you? Uchiha Itachi's expression froze. He was obviously stabbed in a painful spot. Brother, please don't tell my dad that he knows Uchiha Itachi said urgently. For Uchiha Itachi, who just entered the Ninjutsu Academy. At that time, he was still an innocent and romantic young man. However, after graduating from the Ninjutsu Academy, his personality gradually became silent. The more things he was exposed to at the same time, the more things he shouldered. In the end, Uchiha Shisui's death caused Uchiha Itachi to completely enter a dead end in his thoughts. Don't worry, it's already good that your dad won't bother me. Kinyu patted Uchiha Itachi's shoulder. Looking at the woods not far away, he raised his eyebrows and directly used the teleportation technique. Brother Uchiha Itachi just opened his mouth, but before he could finish his words, he saw Uchiha Kinyu disappear out of thin air. What a fast thunder escape technique. Even faster than Shisui's. Uchiha Itachi's expression froze, and he quickly followed up. As soon as I set foot in the woods, I heard a cry for help. Kinyu, I'm sorry for causing you trouble. Oyu Zian held a chakra knife in her hand. Her pretty face was dirty and mixed with a hint of tiredness. I just wanted to bring you something to eat. I didn't expect him to say that I trespassed on the Uchiha clan's important territory. Having said this, Mao Yuzian lowered her head in grievance. Don't take it to heart. Kinyu shook his head and looked at the 3 people who were blocking Mao Yuzian. His face darkened slightly. If he remembered correctly, the person leading the team was one of the vice-captains, Uchiha Ishii, who was known as a little genius in the past, and 2 followers. However, later, due to the emergence of Uchiha Shisui, he would be overwhelmed. Kinyu, is this your friend? Have you forgotten that people who are not from the Uchiha clan cannot set foot within 500 meters of the garrison station? Uchiha smiled teasingly. This time, He deliberately looked for trouble just to make Kinyu succumb to his subordinates. Uchiha Itachi, I remember that there is no such rule in the guard force. My father would never set such a rule. Uchiha Itachi spoke first. Hurry up and release this person, otherwise you will violate the clan rules. Because the Uchiha clan has longed for the position of Hokage for all generations. It's a pity that every time we vote based on the number of people, we will fall behind significantly. After all, the Uchiha clan has a large number of people and is considered a large clan in the ninja world. But compared with the entire Konoha ninja village, there is no comparison at all. Therefore, Uchiha Fugaku made a lot of preparations for this position of Hokage. It's a pity that a genius named Namifeng Minato also appeared at the same time. In the case of Uchiha Fugaku hiding the main Jikayo Sharingan, there is no comparison between the two. HMPH, now that clan chief Fugaku is not here, I will follow the rules. Uchiha Stone said in a deep voice. Actually, we are all members of the same clan. As long as you listen to me carefully in the future, forget about her breaking into our security team this time. Otherwise, don't blame us for executing him now. Uchiha Itachi's expression changed slightly, and he looked at Kinyu with a little hesitation. Itachi, don't leave in this muddy water, just stand aside and watch. Kinyu patted Uchiha Itachi on the shoulder, looked at Uchiha Itachi and said, Is there no room for negotiation? Uchiha was startled at first, then sneered and said, I forgot to tell you, I have just been appointed as an elite jounin. Do you think there is room for negotiation on this matter? Elite jounin? Kinyu said with a warm smile, no wonder you dare to change the rules without authorization. It turns out that you were promoted to an elite jounin. There don't seem to be many elite jounin in Konoha. Having said this, the smile on Kinyu's face deepened and the next moment his words became colder. Unfortunately, your confidence is a bit lacking. As soon as he finished speaking, the electric arc on Kinyu's body crackled boom. When the ground beneath his feet suddenly collapsed, his whole body was like a flash of lightning, passing by in the blink of an eye. The distance of tens of meters is just a blink of an eye. When Uchiha and others reacted, Kinyu had already appeared in front of them. Heavy flow. Kinyu suddenly clenched the 5 fingers of his right hand, without any fancy, and directly hit Uchiha Stone's abdomen hard. Chapter 48 Encounter with the Sannin. Boom! Like a thunderous explosion, all defenses seemed pale and powerless under the splash of lightning. The powerful impact immediately caused the Uchiha Stone to fly backwards like a cannonball. With a dull collision sound, the big tree directly cut off the tree. The violent scene, as well as Kinyu's bathing in the lightning, caused the expressions of the remaining 2 young followers to change dramatically. Without any time to think, he quickly took out the kunai with his backhand and stabbed Kinyu directly in the chest. However, facing the scene, Kinyu seemed completely unaware. Damn! The moment 2 dark kunai were pierced in front of the chest, they were directly bounced away by the thunder. What kind of monster is this? The 2 followers turned pale, and as soon as they took a step back, their huge fists quickly enlarged in their pupils. Boom! The 2 figures flew out like cannonballs. It hit 2 big trees hard. With blood splattering, he fell directly to the ground and couldn't get up. This is too strong. Uchiha Itachi's expression froze in disbelief. He learned about the changes in his cousin from Uchiha Fugaku. However, according to Uchiha Itachi's understanding, this kind of change is extremely powerful and is at the level of a jounin, or an elite jounin. When he saw Uchiha Stone and the other 2 henchmen appearing just now, he thought about taking action to contain them. He never expected that Kinyu would kill Uchiha Stone, who was an elite jounin. You're not injured, are you? Kinyu rubbed the head of Mao Yuzian, who was still in a daze. If you are injured, I can help you treat it. While at the base, Uchiha Kinyu did not miss the opportunity to let Shizun teach medical ninjutsu. Now his palm immortal technique and the technique of extracting minor trouble have been maxed out with one click. I'm fine. It's just that the lunchbox I brought for you was broken. Oyuzian said in despair. Let's go eat Ikaraku ramen. Kinyu shook his head helplessly. Is this okay? Mao Yuzian couldn't help but be startled, but her cheeks turned red. In her eyes, this was no different than a so-called date. And the kid over there, if you don't mind. Ginyu looked at Uchiha Itachi, who was confused. Itachi is now only a little over 6 years old and graduated from ninja school at the age of 7. So I only opened the single Magatama, and my strength is at most a little stronger than the Chunin. Is this your brother Uchiha Itachi? Yuzuki Zian obviously heard about this little genius and said quickly. Of course I don't mind, Itachi is really cute. Yuzuki Zian pinched Uchiha Itachi's cheek. If future generations knew that Itachi God was treated like this, I don't know what their expressions would be. I don't have to go. Uchiha Itachi realized in his daze. Don't you want to know how deep your brother is hidden? Mao Yuzian said with a playful smile. We may be able to squeeze out his secrets if we join forces. Besides, don't you want to know how he was able to repel the Cloud Ninja and Mist Ninja with his own strength? After hearing these words, Uchiha Itachi hesitated for a moment, bit his lip and agreed. Let's go. Kinyu rolled his eyes helplessly, turned around and led the way. Along the way, the little beauty Mao Yuzian was there, attracting the attention of many people. Especially seeing Yuzuki Zian walking with the Uchiha clan, his face was more or less disgusted. Kinyu didn't take it to heart, but he didn't expect that Konoha was already so hostile to the Uchiha clan. Welcome. A girl of 12 or 13 years old came out. Calamus, let's invite the guests to sit down first. I'll beat the ramen and serve it. The sound of beating hands came from the inner kitchen. I want a barbecued pork ramen. Kinyu sat down casually. This is the most mysterious Ikaraku ramen shop in Naruto, which is jokingly called by Naruto fans, Konoha will never fail even if it fails. It was also imagined that Uncle Ikaraku's true identity was the most mysterious Otsutsuki Tate who was hiding in the Konoha ninja village. I want barbecued pork too. Mao Yuzian echoed eagerly. In her eyes, only eating the same thing as Kinyu can it be called a date. I want it too, Uchiha Itachi said helplessly. However, the two soon entered the exchange meeting. When Yuzuki Zian mentioned Uchiha Kinyu, he used his Thunder Kirin to kill hundreds of Kumo ninjas instantly. Uchiha Itachi looked at Kinyu with a hint of shock and awe. Shuda, give me some barbecued pork ramen. A slightly tired voice came from outside the door. Kinyu raised his eyebrows and saw a man with silver hair sitting down next to him, carrying a huge scroll. Jiraiya-sama, I didn't expect you to come back at this juncture. Hans walked out of the kitchen with a hint of joy on his face. Tate is an ordinary businessman in Konoha, and he only knows roughly the situation of the war. However, who would not be worried after learning that 3 major battlefields were opened at the same time? As a being who became famous during the Second Ninja War, Jiraiya is a reassurance for Konoha. Tita, you're still the same. Jiraiya tore open his chopsticks, looked at the snacks that Tita signaled Iris to bring up, shook his head and said, I'm coming back this time, just to report the information to the 3rd generation, and I will leave soon. The war will soon be decided. His expression couldn't help but change. He quickly made a gesture to silence Jiraiya and said, Jiraiya-sama, there are juniors here. You can't just talk about this information. By the way, don't drink this time. Last time, Jiraiya-sama revealed a lot of information. If Hokage-sama hadn't arrived in time, I would have become a sinner. He took the sake off Jiraiya's table with his hand. Well, it's really not a good time to drink when you come back this time. Surprisingly, Jiraiya didn't argue with Shu this time, but looked at Kinyu. Shu Da is not a stupid person. He immediately saw the clues and returned to the kitchen with calamus. The ramen will be ready in 10 minutes. Got it. Jiraiya knew this was a reminder from his hand. Looking at the young man in front of him who seemed to have recognized him early in the morning, Jiraiya sighed quietly. I didn't expect that Minato asked me to come back because of you, a brat. I heard that you defeated the Kumo ninja and the Mist ninja alone. Your strength is already close to the cage level. Looking at the entire Konoha, there are very few people who can defeat you. Yuzuki Zien and Uchiha Itachi fell silent. Seeing one of the dignified Sannin give such an evaluation to Uchiha Kinyu, I was filled with shock. Chapter 49, Obtaining Psychic Techniques. Jiraiya-sama, you are serious. Kinyu smiled casually. I originally planned to be a salty fish, just like you, and write pornographic books. This life is so comfortable. If I hadn't been captured and made a young man, I wouldn't have wanted to cause such things. Speaking of this, Kinyu sighed helplessly. Unfortunately, I am soft-hearted and kind-hearted, so I can't help but take action. Looking at Kinyu, who looked nonchalant, Jiraiya was startled for a moment. These words were not much different from what Namikaze Minato had mentioned. Unfortunately, this was not the result Jiraiya needed. Kinyu, you should know very well that sometimes, once you are exposed, you cannot go back to the past. Many times, you still need to make a choice, Jiraiya said in a deep voice. This time, I came back just to know what you think Konoha will do in this third ninja war. The decisive battle at Kanekun Bridge is about to begin. In this case, the biggest variable is Uchiha Kinyu. With the strength he showed, he could defeat 1 against 1,000. If someone breaks out in Konoha's rear area, it will be a huge disaster for Konoha. Don't worry, I just want to go to the battlefield. Kinyu smiled calmly and said, in the battle at Kanawu Bridge, Konoha will definitely win. Jiraiya obviously didn't expect that Kinyu would agree so readily. However, this just solved his and the Leaf Village's concerns. Instead of putting Uchiha Kinyu, this variable was placed in the Konoha Ninja Village. It would be better to let Kinyu and Namikaze Minato go to the battlefield together. This will at least stabilize the rear. However, I have a condition, Kinyu suddenly said. Jiraiya couldn't help being startled and said, whatever conditions you have, as long as it doesn't endanger Konoha's safety, I can agree to it. Don't worry, don't always regard me as a threat. I said that I would rather be a salted fish than show up in public. Unfortunately, people are afraid of being famous and pigs are afraid of being strong. There is nothing I can do about it. Kinyu laughed dryly. Originally, Kinyu was a little disappointed when he didn't see the psychic scroll of Maiamu Mountain on Namikaze Minato. I never expected that Jiraiya would come to my door. This kind of fat sheep will not be slaughtered until it is slaughtered. Are you planning to do psychic magic? Jiraiya raised a brow and said, Minato has mentioned to me that you want to sign a psychic contract with the toad in MT. Miyaki, there is no problem with this, but I want to remind you that you must not do anything wrong with Mount Maiamu, otherwise I will take back your contract. As the toad sage of MT, Mayaboku, Jiraiya has many special rights. Among them, entering and exiting Maiamu Mountain and merging with 2 immortals are 2 of them. Don't worry, I'm a good person. Finish your ramen first, and then we'll sign the contract. Kinyu looked at Shuda, who came out with a smile. The aroma of ramen noodles has filled the air. Seeing that there was no conflict between Jiraiya and Uchiha Kinyu, Tate couldn't help but feel relieved. The ramen has arrived, Jiraiya-sama, and this is sake. Why did you let me drink again? Aren't you worried that I would be drunk and talk nonsense again? Haha, Master Jiraiya, aren't there 3 brats beside you? They just want to send you back. During this meal of ramen, Uchiha Itachi and Yuzuki Yugen did not speak, and they ate very quickly. Seeing the eagerness on their faces, Kinyu knew that they clearly wanted to see the signing of the psychic contract. Among Hokage, There are very few people who can sign a psychic contract. Moreover, even if it can be signed, the contract psychic beasts signed by many people are not very powerful. Compared with the Sheik Forest, Yuji Cave, and Mayamu Mountain, which are known as the strongest, there is a huge difference. As for these three major contract places, it is also because of the rise of the three ninja that their fame shocked the entire ninja world. Now you can actually sign a contract with Mayamu Mountain, which is proof of a strong man. We finished eating, thank you for your hospitality. Yuzuki Yuyan and Uchiha Itachi said in unison. Feeling the fiery gazes of the two men, Kinyu's appetite was no longer large. Moreover, Kinyu felt an inexplicable urgency in his heart when he thought that after signing a psychic contract, he could try to obtain the immortal mode afterwards. You three, stop staring at me all the time. You've lost the joy of drinking. Jiraiya was helpless, patted his wallet, and said, I'll pay the bill this time. It's rare to come back to Konoha. For once, waste money on ye brats. It would be great if it were used on those older girls. Thinking of these young ladies bathing in hot springs, a hint of drunkenness appeared on Jiraiya's face. Let's go. Don't say that you are a Sannin when you go out. You look like a pig brother. It's embarrassing. Kinyu rolled his eyes and took the lead to leave with Uchiha Itachi and Yuzuki Zian. Boy, what are you talking about? You are still young and don't know what the adult world is. Why don't I lend you the intimacy paradise? This will allow you to open up a second world view, so you don't have to be a salty fish all the time. Life has color. After Jiraiya paid the bill, he hurriedly chased after him. After the four people left, a figure flashed out of the darkness and quickly walked towards the route. Under the leadership of Itachi Uchiha, Kinyu finally arrived at a slightly secluded basin outside the village. Looking at the deserted surroundings, in the open space in the middle, there are many scarecrows specially used for practicing Sharingan and traces of attacks scattered on the ground. It seems that Uchiha Itachi's identity as the king of skipping classes is not nonsense. I didn't expect that the Uchiha clan would have three geniuses this time. They would be able to master the art of Sharingan to such an extent when they were not even 7 years old. Jiraiya has been a jackpot for half his life. But now that he has mastered Senjutsu, he can definitely be called the strongest among the three ninjas. This may be the counterattack of hardworking geniuses. Boy, why don't I accept you as my disciple and you wander with me? Jiraiya said coldly. Uchiha Itachi couldn't help but be startled, then shook his head and said, No need, I want my brother to guide me. Let this monster. Jiraiya glanced at Uchiha Kinyu and said, If you follow this kind of monster, you will easily be traumatized. If you follow me, I can give you another kind of enlightenment. You have to know that this world is very big, and some things are very refreshing. It feels like entering paradise. As long as you try it, you will never come back. He looked at Jiraiya, who ran off the train as soon as he opened his mouth. Kinyu rolled his eyes helplessly and said, Jiraiya, if you want to cause trouble, go back and cause trouble to Minato. Now the Kanwu Bridge is in danger, let's finish the serious business first. You kid, you are just a lump of wood. No wonder you even ignored the pretty girl next to you. Jiraiya curled his lips. However, he still took off the contract scroll from his body neatly. Boy, this is the contract scroll of Mount Mayaboku. Only after signing the contract on the scroll can you summon the toads of Mount Mayaboku. Jiraiya spread out the scroll. On it are the people who have signed contracts with Mount Mayaboku in the past, including the name of Hamura, the son of Kaguya Otsutsuki. Boy, if you have other psychic beasts, then terminate the contract first. The toads in Mayamu Mountain are very bad-tempered. If they know that you have 2 feet, you will suffer a lot. Chapter 50, Full Level of Psychic Skills. Jiraiya, don't worry, I have a bad temper. I hope Toad won't provoke me, Kinyu said with a smile. Are you really loud? Jiraiya rolled his eyes and said, "Wait a moment, don't cry, come to me for help. Bite your index finger first, then leave your name on it, and then I will cast a spell. Once the contract is made, you cannot betray my Amshin casually, otherwise you will become a stone." At the end, Jiraiya did not forget to remind him. Looking at the scroll laid out flat, Kinyu bit his finger and quickly wrote his name on it as the blood flowed out. The moment Kinyu withdrew his hand, Jiraiya quickly formed a seal with his hands, and finally lit up 5 colors of light, pressing it directly on the scroll. White steam steamed, and the seal in Jiraiya's hand instantly merged with Kinyu's signature, turning into a mysterious sealing spell. When the light dissipated, Kinyu felt an inexplicable connection with another space. "Okay, the contract has been successful. You can try it, but I advise you to be cautious and don't embarrass yourself." Jiraiya put away the scroll and put it on his back again. "By the way, I haven't learned the sealing techniques of psychic art yet. Please teach me." Kinyu thought of an important question. In this body of his, he had been a useless person for more than 10 years, and he couldn't even recognize ninjutsu, let alone such advanced psychic skills. "You still don't understand the seals of psychic art?" Jiraiya was a little surprised. After all, he only returned to Konoha village to find out what happened after he learned about Namikaze Minato's message and knew that Kinyu was a peerless genius who had been dormant for more than 10 years in Konoha village. Now Kinyu told him that not knowing the art of channeling was indeed beyond his knowledge. Seeing Kinyu shaking his head again, Jiraiya sighed. "Okay, I'll show you. But if you use it once, there is a 90% chance that it will fail, so don't take it to heart. Look, don't blink, NT. Miyaboku Sage Jiraiya." Jiraiya came on stage while rapping, put his right hand to his mouth and bit it, but his hands flew quickly like wheels. When the last seal fell, Jiraiya slapped his right hand towards the ground. Psychic art. The cobweb-like seal spread instantly, surrounded by white mist. A figure the size of Michelle appeared in front of everyone. This is a toad wearing arm armor on both hands. It is somewhat similar to the toad summoned by Jiraiya when he fought against Kisame and Uchiha Itachi in the original work. "Is this a psychic beast?" Mao Yuzian's eyes couldn't help but light up, and she said, "I heard that as long as a psychic beast is summoned on the battlefield after signing a contract, it means that the combat power will be doubled. Moreover, the psychic beast is a partner who will never betray." Regarding these words, Kinyu also made some complaints in his heart. If when she knew this, she would definitely grin. Eat people, eat their masters. When she never jokes. "Brother, are you sure?" Uchiha Itachi couldn't help but ask. Kinyu patted Itachi on the head and said with a smile, "Do you also want to see my joke? I'll try my best, maybe it will work." While talking, Kinyu communicated with the system in his body. "Ding dong, I found out that the host has learned the art of channeling. Can I reach the full level with one click? Maximum level immediately." Kinyu issued the order. Ding dang, congratulations to the host, the psychic skill has been leveled up. A stream of information about psychic techniques poured into his mind, giving Kinyu a feeling of sudden enlightenment. "Kinyu, if you are not confident yet, you can go back and get familiar with it first. There is no need to rush." Jiraiya patted Kinyu on the shoulder and said with a smile, "You don't have to be discouraged. No one is as talented as me. The first summons was successful." Looking at Jiraiya, who was familiar with Jiraiya, Kinyu rolled his eyes and said, "It must be the first time I randomly channeled spirits and successfully reverse summoned myself to Miyamu Mountain. You and I are different." Jiraiya couldn't help but be stunned. This was his secret. In addition to the third Hokage knowing a thing or two, he also boasted about it to Tsunade. No. He even showed off in front of Orochimaru. It seems to be written in the intimacy paradise. The more Jiraiya thought about it, he realized that it didn't seem to be a secret at all, so he simply ignored it. "Boy, you really have a good tone. I hope you can still laugh when you see the tadpole without legs after a while." Mao Yu Zian on the side also waved her pink fist towards Kinyu, obviously to cheer him up. As for Uchiha Itachi, he still remained silent with a cool look on his face, but his eyes towards Kinyu also showed a hint of urgency. Kinyu took a deep breath. The blood on the index finger of his right hand had not yet dried. With a touch of his palm, his hands started flying as fast as wheels. Jiraiya's expression changed after witnessing this scene. Originally, he thought that Kinyu would be very unfamiliar even if he really learned how to form seals for the first time. However, the swiftness of the seal movements in front of them completely subverted their cognition. Psychic art. When the last seal was completed, Kinyu suddenly slapped the ground with his backhand. Feeling that 80% of the chakra was extracted from his body like a frenzy, his expression couldn't help but change. Boom. A powerful sound suddenly sounded, and under the white mist that towered into the sky, 3 huge hill-like figures condensed out of thin air. The air wave caused by the summons rolled back, making Yuzuki Zian and Uchiha Itachi feel like they couldn't open their eyes. However, compared to them, Jiraiya almost had his eyes popped open. Jiraiya was filled with disbelief when he saw Gamma Bunta, Gamma Takaru, and Gamma Hero, who were once channeled and known as the 3 great powers of MT. Mayaboku. Jiraiya, what happened? You wouldn't have gone to participate in the 3rd Ninja War, met some difficult guy, and channeled the 3 of us at once. Gamma Bunta held a cigarette in his mouth. Zhang Jian puffed out a puff of smoke and said, "This is a big price to pay. We need to find at least several thousand kilograms of bugs, otherwise don't even think about sending us away." Gao Jian and Gao Guang couldn't help but look around. However, in their perception, there was no danger at all. There were only 2 stunned people and a confused Jiraiya. Jiraiya, you should also speak. There is no danger at all. You can summon us at will, but you can't send us away at will. Tamahiro couldn't help but speak. Chapter 51, Shocked by a Look. As Tagahiro's words fell, Gamma Bunta and Gamma Take also looked at Jiraiya. That eager look on his face, if he doesn't get a reasonable answer, may cause a backlash. Jiraiya woke up from his daze, glanced around, and said with a wry smile, "Can I say that I'm not the one who summoned you?" "It's not you?" Gamma Bunter raised his eyebrows, exhaled a puff of smoke, and said, "Is it that Minato guy? Why didn't I see him?" In the contemporary era, there may be other people who have signed a contract with the Toad, but there are very few people who can really support the huge consumption of chakra and are qualified to summon their 3 giant toads. Apart from Jiraiya and Namikaze Minato, they really couldn't think of anyone else. "It's him." Jiraiya looked at Kinyu and said with a wry smile, "Boy, you have to figure it out yourself. The baptism of a giant is already miserable. Now you can summon 3 at once, so you can take care of yourself." After saying these words, Jiraiya immediately started running away and quickly opened a safe distance. Yuzuki Zian and Uchiha Itachi also looked livid. However, facing these 3 toads that looked like hills, he still gritted his teeth and wanted to walk to Kinyu's side. "Stand back and leave this place to me." Kinyu looked up at Gamma Bunta and said, "It's our first time meeting you. I'm very happy to be able to enter into a psychic contract with you. HMPH, it turned out to be a mere brat. I thought he was the one who dared to summon us all at once." Gamma Bunta snorted coldly. "But don't think that after summoning us, you can just pat our butts and send us back." Gagahiro and Gagaken obviously followed Gagabunta's lead. Although they didn't say anything, their meaning was obvious. "Is there any solution?" Kinyu smiled even more. Of course he knows that the more powerful the psychic beast is, the more personality it has. Before they were tamed, they were all tattoos. HMPH, of course. As long as you defeat the 3 of us, it's over this time. Otherwise you have to help us catch insects for a month. Gamma Bunta narrowed his eyes slightly. "When I thought about it, someone took the initiative to put those delicious bugs into my mouth. This life is the most beautiful. I like this solution too. Kinyu smiled warmly. Gamabunta was startled at first, and then met Kinyu's scarlet, blood-like eyes. 9 Magatama Sharingan. As soon as his blood moon-like eyes opened, Kinyu's whole aura changed drastically, and his huge pupil power rolled back like a frenzy. The expressions of the three of them changed dramatically. It's the eyes of disaster that the great immortal mentioned. I didn't expect to encounter them here. Gamabunta's expression changed. Be careful, this pupil technique is not easy. Gamabunta shouted violently, and when he reached for the dagger at his waist, he saw Kinyu move. No, it should be said that he saw Kinyu's eyes widening. Tsukuyomi. Using Tsukuyomi on 3 big toads at once was also very costly for Kinyu. Maybe it can only be limited to a short moment. But in this case of a strong showdown, everything is enough. Jiraiya and the others only saw a slight pause in the movements of Gamabunta and the others. The next moment, Kinyu's body was filled with lightning, and the ground instantly cracked. The whole person turned into a stream of light across the sky and the earth, and fell on Gamabunta's head in the blink of an eye. When the 3 big toads woke up, Kinyu was no longer there. Are you looking for me? I'm on your head, Bunta. Kinyu smiled and patted Toad Bunta's head. The sudden scene made Gamabunta's face stiffen. However, under normal circumstances he would go berserk. However, this time it did not dare to make a mistake. No matter it was Gamabunta, Gamatake, or even Gamahero didn't take action again. They knew very well that they had fallen into the illusion just now. Since the opponent can get on their heads, this proves that they have the ability to kill them with one blow. In this case, the outcome is decided. Boy, I didn't expect your skills to be very good. I'm convinced. Gamabunta withdrew his right hand for the knife, picked up the pipe and took a deep breath. Forget it this time. The next time we are summoned, I hope it will be an emergency. We don't want to get together every time we come out. Jian, Guang, we're going back. After saying these words, Gamabunta and the other 3 turned into a white mist and disappeared out of thin air. So easy to solve it. Jiraiya was stunned on the spot. When I think about it, Jiraiya was bullied by a toad for the first time when he entered Miyamu Mountain. Especially the insect feast, in order to maintain freshness, it will squirm in the bowl. Thinking about this situation makes one's stomach feel a little restless. Kinyu fell in the air, watched Uchiha Itachi and Uezuki Zen rush to meet him, and said, "Don't worry, I'm fine." "Brother, was the Sharingan you just had?" Uchiha Itachi couldn't help but ask. In the eyes of others, the reason Uchiha Itachi is called a genius is because he opened the single Magatama Sharingan before he was 7 years old. It's always been an honor. However, when he saw the 3 psychic beasts facing him, Kinyu just glared for a moment and then directly pulled them into the illusion. This method turned his so-called single Magatama Sharingan into rubbish in an instant. This is the main Jikayo Sharingan. It is the limit of the Sharingan. Itachi, you will also have it in the future. Kinyu rubbed the god Itachi's head. It can be said that the Amaterasu, Tsukuyomi, and Susanoo he currently possesses are all pupil techniques transformed by the system using Kinyu's thinking when they were at full level. It can be regarded as stealing Uchiha Itachi's pupil technique. Really? Itachi Uchiha showed a rare trace of innocence for his age. Kinyu patted his head and said, "Of course. It's getting late. You should go back first. Jiraiya and I still have something to talk about." After Uezuki Zen and Uchiha Itachi glanced at Kinyu hesitantly, they finally turned and left. For a moment, only Kinyu and Jiraiya were left in the huge open space. Boy, what you did just now was really great. Even I didn't expect that your pupil technique would be so powerful that it caused the 3 big toads of MT Miyamu to be directly affected by the illusion. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed it. Jiraiya not the slightest bit on guard. Instead, I felt a little more relaxed. In his eyes, Kinyu could show his strength without any scruples in front of him. This is enough. Haha, these are all small tricks. Compared with your sage mode, they are still far behind. Kinyu laughed dryly, took out 2 bottles of wine from his backpack, and threw one to Jiraiya. Drinking wine makes it easier to talk. This is table etiquette. Chapter 52 Goals of Cooperation. Jiraiya caught the sake, looked hesitant, and sat down cross-legged first. Boy, I didn't expect that you know so many things. Looking at Kinyu, who also took out a lot of dried meat snacks, etc. Jiraiya was no longer polite, raised his head and took a sip of sake, and said, "You didn't have the idea of psychic skills from the beginning. Is it the immortal mode?" Sage mode is one of the most powerful fighting methods after the collapse of Naruto's combat power in the later stages. Even Orochimaru has always been salivating. Kinyu once thought that Orochimaru had also searched for the location of Uchiha Cave. I also wanted to get the immortal mode, but unfortunately I couldn't get the recognition. As for why Orochimaru knew the existence of Sage mode, he probably had a fight with Jiraiya. Beaten by Sage mode. It's like Orochimaru wanted to get Itachi's Sharingan, but was instantly killed by a genjutsu. Instead, he did the same thing to Uchiha Sasuke. Absolutely. Kinyu didn't hide it and sat aside with a smile. This is a world for the strong. Whoever has the biggest fist can speak out. Are you right? Jiraiya couldn't help but was startled and said, "Didn't you say you wanted to be a salted fish? This seems to be a bit against your wishes." According to Kinyu's explanation, salted fish should lie in the sun, dry the front and then the back. Haha, in this world of power struggle, if you don't have absolute strength, it will be difficult to realize your wish of being a salted fish. Kinyu also took a sip of sake. Don't worry, I will definitely get this fairy mode, but I don't like to use violence, so just let it happen. However, I advise you, don't stare at Orochimaru all the time. When you have time, remember to visit the Rain Ninja Village. That place will change the pattern of the entire ninja world. Kinyu thought of Yahiko and the others. According to the development in the original work, Danzo is about to take action against Akatsuki led by Yahiko. Once Yahiko is killed, Nagato will go berserk, and the nature and meaning of Akatsuki will undergo earth-shaking changes. Jiraiya couldn't help but be startled and looked at Kinyu with a hint of uncertainty. Boy, you seem to know a lot of things. It seems that you have never been blind in these more than 10 years of lurking. Jiraiya exhaled and said, "Minato mentioned to me that your talent in learning ninjutsu is beyond comparison. World. Just now I saw you used your psychic technique for the first time to summon Gamabunta and the other 3. I realized that I don't want to be your enemy. I hope you won't pose a threat to Konoha in the future, otherwise I will feel very uncomfortable trouble. You Ninja Village, I'm going back for a visit. I've often heard about the deeds of those 3 little guys, and I don't know what's going on now." Jiraiya dusted himself off, said that, and turned around to leave. After watching a figure leave, Kinyu cast his gaze on the woods on the left. When the 3 big toads were summoned just now, Kinyu noticed that someone was coming and was still monitoring them. Although the distance was 600 to 700 meters, Kinyu could not escape his perception. As for who it is, you can figure it out even with your toes. I really don't know what Danzo will do next. This boring life really needs some guys who are not afraid of death to spice it up, otherwise it will be too boring. Kinyu stretched with a smile and said there was no rush to leave, and he started drinking alone. On the other hand, the roots. Danzo stood on the roof, squinting his eyes slightly against the wind. Behind him stood a slender man with a pale face. That slightly pursed smile made people feel inexplicably awe-inspiring. "Danzo-sama, it's an emergency." Shinichi, a ninja from the roots, appeared next to Danzo and couldn't help but look at the pale man. After recognizing his identity, his expression changed instantly. "Don't be surprised. Next, he is our ally. If you have anything to say, just tell him." Danzo said calmly, leaning on his cane. This time, he didn't expect that the person he was looking for happened to sneak into the Konoha ninja village. It also saved Danzo a lot of effort. Yes, the ninja at the root responded and said, according to the intelligence report, after Uchiha Kinyu and Jiraiya left the village together, 3 large toads were channeled at the same time. As for who is channeling, we just arrived and didn't have time to see clearly. Haha, apart from Jiraiya, I don't believe there is anyone else who can summon 3 toads at the same time. A feminine voice suddenly sounded. The scarlet tongue was as long and slender as a snake, which was shocking to see. I didn't expect that Jiraiya's strength would increase a lot after I left Konoha. Facing the man in front of him who was as terrifying as a snake, the ninja at his core couldn't help but take a step back and opened a safe distance that he thought was enough. Faced with Orochimaru, one of the 3 ninjas who was expelled from the village because of his quirks and human experimentation, that was a more terrifying existence than the other Sannin. However, the ninja at the root was in awe, but he still said bravely, "No, we finally speculate that these 3 toads were summoned by Uchiha Kinyu. There was also a gambling war between them. It's just that this gambling battle was solved by Uchiha Kinyu with a look." Having said this, the ninja at the root showed a trace of surprise and uncertainty on his face. Danzo and Orochimaru's expressions also changed. In their eyes, only Jiraiya could summon 3 major psychic beasts at the same time. However, now they are told that the person who did such a thing turned out to be Uchiha Kinyu. This gap is a bit too big. As the root ninja narrated, Danzo and Orochimaru's faces became more solemn. However, the pupils are more fiery and urgent. You mean, Uchiha Kinyu pulled the 3 giant toads into the illusion with one look? Orochimaru continued to reiterate. After seeing the root ninja nodding affirmatively, there was a hint of heat on his face. According to legend, the kaleidoscope possessed only by Madara Uchiha actually appeared in the body of a 14-year-old or 15-year-old kid. No wonder he is so arrogant. Orochimaru smiled ferociously and said, "Danzo, I didn't expect you to contact me this time. It's such a great thing. It would be great if I could take this skin as my own." Under Orochimaru's technique of immortal reincarnation, a good body is a fatal temptation for him. Moreover, only Uchiha Madara, who is said to be on par with the first Hokage, possesses the Mangekyou Sharingan. For Orochimaru, who loves human experiments, this is the best experimental product. HMPH, Orochimaru, have you forgotten the premise of our cooperation? Danzo snorted coldly. He helped Orochimaru when he defected. At the same time, they were colluding with each other in private, including his right arm and right eye. Although, he doesn't have Shisui's Mangekyou now. But during this period, he also secretly collected a lot of Sharingan. What Danzo has to do is to seize the wood escape cells of the first Hokage, who is known as the strongest in the ninja world, and the Sharingan of Uchiha Madara. Only by obtaining these 2 most powerful foundations, Danzo believes that one day he will definitely be able to defeat Naruto by Hiruzen. Chapter 53: The Psychologically Twisted Kakashi. The early morning sunshine, like broken gold, enveloped the entire Konoha village. In front of the sealed gate, Kinyu yawned and stretched. The Battle of Kanakun Bridge can be said to determine the direction of the entire Naruto plot. Whether it was to agree to Jiraiya or to solve his own chakra deficiency, he needed to find the whereabouts of the 3 tails. In addition to making up for the missing weaknesses, Kinyu must make a trip in person. "Hello." A pretty female voice suddenly sounded. Kinyu followed the voice and looked, and it was Lin who caught his eye. Lin, who was 14 or 15 years old, was unique in Konoha's beauty. Moreover, he has a gentle and kind personality, and he will be the crush of the big boss Abido in the future. "Are you here to participate in the mission?" Lin couldn't help but ask. In her mission scroll, this time heading to Kanakun Bridge, it was just her, Kakashi, and Abido. It would be appropriate for their teacher, Konoha Golden Flash Namikaze Minato, to lead the team. Now, a person suddenly appeared at the meeting point, and Lin couldn't help but ask. You should be considered a temporary recruit and join the team, Qin Yu said with a faint smile. La Zhuang Ding? Lin couldn't help but be startled, then smiled and said, Don't worry, we will be safe with Minato-sensei and Kakashi here. Let me tell you a secret. Today Kakashi has become a Jonin. This is a symbol of strength. While Lin was talking, she didn't forget to look at Qin Yu's body. It turns out that you are a Chunin like me. Is this your first mission? No wonder you came so early. You are too nervous. Don't worry, I'm a medical ninja. If anything happens, I'll treat you well. Looking at Lin with an enthusiastic face, Qin Yu couldn't help but roll his eyes. This step on the horse is silly and sweet. No wonder so many people like it. As soon as they met, they became familiar with each other, and they even opened and closed their mouths to curse and curse for injuries. If they were not in a good mood, they would probably just slap him in the face. By the way, when did you graduate? Kakashi is amazing. Lin continued to think about herself. Qin Yu looked helplessly into the grass beside him and said, Kakashi, come out when you come. If it's 1 o'clock in the evening, my ears will be calloused. Kakashi? Lin couldn't help but be startled for a moment, and soon she saw a black shadow flash out of the bushes nearby, heading straight towards Qin Yu Henkong. The speed was so fast, just a few dozen meters, it was just a blink of an eye. Before Lin could react, the chakra dagger in Kakashi's hand was instantly unsheathed. It turned into a white light and struck Qin Yu head-on. Kakashi don't want it, Lin exclaimed. However, the next moment his expression couldn't help but froze. The crackling thunder arc flashed across Qin Yu's body and then disappeared out of thin air. The chakra dagger in Kakashi's hand instantly fell into disuse. As soon as he regained his footing, a hint of danger appeared behind him. A cold blade stopped directly on his neck. Don't move, my knife is very sharp. Qin Yu smiled warmly. However, this smile fell on Lin and Kakashi's eyes, making their pupils suddenly shrink. This is so fast. Qin Yu, can't you be merciful? I was just a step late and you were rude to my students. Namikaze Minato appeared next to Qin Yu like a ghost, using the flying thunder god technique. Looking at Namikaze Minato, he and Qin Yu looked like they were equals. The confusion on Kakashi and Lin's faces deepened. Minato, you have the nerve to be late. If you had come earlier, I wouldn't have been misunderstood and wouldn't be too lazy to take action. Qin Yu took back the thunder knife and stored it in the scroll. Looking at Kakashi and Lin, who looked confused, he touched the tip of his nose and said, Minato, I think you should explain it first. Qin Yu didn't take Kakashi's hostility seriously. After your father is dead, it is normal for you to feel a little twisted inside. Moreover, in this boring life that is almost invincible, it is also good to have these little ones who are not afraid of anything to spice up the life. As soon as these words were spoken, Kakashi and Lin couldn't help but look at Namikaze Minato. Yes, I'm sorry, I'm not late. A rapid shout came from the distance. Then he saw Abido Uchiha, wearing an eye patch, jumping quickly and landing in front of Kakashi. You are already late, Kakashi said coldly, but we are not in the mood to pay attention to you now. Teacher Minato, the task completion rate depends on the rules. When we took the task, we clearly marked a 4-person team. Why is there another person of unknown origin now? Looking at Kakashi in front of him, who has only one brain circuit and dares to fight even Namikaze Minato, Qin Yu couldn't help but laugh. Only the top brass of Konoha and certain top brass of the Uchiha clan knew that he had defeated the Kumo ninja and Kiri ninja. For Kakashi and others, this is still a secret. Are you Uchiha Qin Yu? Abido, as a member of the Uchiha clan, is still the leader of the clan. I still know a little bit about the brothers of the same clan who have opened the Sharingan. Weren't you sent to guard the Northwest Pass? Why are you here? Kinyu collected the remaining memories in his mind and found that Kinyu and Abido had a little friendship. So it's not surprising to know that he took the mission. However, now, suddenly, such a big change has occurred, and it is really difficult for Kinyu to explain to Abido. Abido must not be rude. Namikaze Minato coughed dryly. He also didn't know how to explain it. He couldn't tell them that the Uchiha Kinyu in front of him was a genius who had been dormant for more than 10 years. Not only did he come back from the Northwest Pass, but he also used the Mangekyo Sharingan to remove the air within seconds. Minato-sensei, did I say something wrong? Abido couldn't help rubbing his eyes and said, I just saw an old woman crossing the road, so I did a good deed, so I wasted time. Then there was sand that got into the eyes. Seeing Abido wearing goggles and opening his mouth to dig into the sand, Kinyu couldn't help but roll his eyes. I should find a cleaner excuse for this. Okay, now the time is just right. It's rare that Kakashi didn't argue with you this time. It's time for us to set off. We'll talk about anything on the way. Minato Namikaze looked at Kinyu, paused and said, Today there are 3 things to announce. First thing, welcome Elite Jonin Kinyu to join our team. Chapter 54 I don't want this captain anymore. Elite Jonin. Kakashi and others' expressions froze, especially Lin, who couldn't help but said, Minato-sensei, isn't the mark on his body a Chunin forehead protector? Why is he an elite Jounin? Among the ninja levels, they are divided into Genin, Chunin, Special Jounin, Jounin, and Elite Jounin. Among them, Special Jounin refers to those who have strength beyond Chunin and cannot reach Jounin, but have special personal strengths and comprehensive strength, and can barely reach the Jounin assessment. They are called Special Jounin. For example, in the original work, Moonlight Hayate, who knows the Konoharayu Mikazuki dance swordsmanship, is good at some kind of illusion, and may be a ninja who is outstanding in a certain field. As for the elite Jounin, they are the elite among Jounin. He was specially designated as an elite Jounin by the 3rd Hokage yesterday. There has been no announcement yet, so he didn't have time to replace his forehead protector. Namikaze Minato looked helpless. He's really not good at explaining. If the 3rd Hokage hadn't issued a hush-hush order, Kinyu's affairs would never have been revealed casually. Namikaze Minato was really willing to say everything at once. Promoted by the 3rd Hokage personally, Uchiha Abido couldn't calm down. Kinyu, are you opening the double Magatama Sharingan, or are you opening the triple Magatama like the clan leader? Kakashi, take a look, this is the genius of our Uchiha clan, much stronger than your Chunin. Uchiha Abido, who looked like a stinker, still didn't forget to use his power to show off his power. Kinyu rolled his eyes helplessly and said, Kakashi was promoted to Jounin today. The small voice made Uchiha Abido confused. He had always regarded Kakashi as a competitor, and thought that after opening the Sharingan he could surpass Kakashi in one leap. However, now he is told that the Sharingan has not yet been opened and Kakashi has become a Jounin. However, this was originally great news, but it seemed a little inferior when faced with Kinyu's title of Elite Jounin. Abido, you won't forget it, will you? Lin quickly said to lighten the atmosphere. We are just talking to prepare a gift for Kakashi. This is my gift. Although it is a little ugly, it is useful at critical moments. Namikaze Minato took out the Flying Thunder God Kunai first. Lin on the side quickly took out her special medical kit and said, Kakashi, I made this myself. I hope you can put it to use. Listening to these special blessings, Kinyu really wanted to pinch Lin's nose hard. However, before Kinyu could get angry, Minato Namikaze had already blinked at him. Kinyu, as a senior, shouldn't you express your gratitude? Kakashi couldn't help but be startled, and after taking the Flying Thunder God Kunai and the medical kit, he said, Minato-sensei, I don't need his things. Looking at the somewhat stubborn Kakashi, Namikaze Minato couldn't help but feel a headache. Kakashi, this is a rare opportunity. If I didn't have some friendship with Kinyu, I'm afraid no one would be able to benefit from him. Benefits? Kakashi frowned and said, Minato-sensei, are his things better than the flying thunder god kunai? If there really is, I just want to open my eyes and won't want it. In Kakashi's eyes, Kinyu is similar to him in age. In what was supposed to be the most festive day, not only was he subdued by Kinyu with one move, he was also overwhelmed by the power of his elite jounin. To make him happy now is even harder than reaching the sky. Well, since you have made up your mind, I beg Kinyu to open your eyes. Namikaze Minato looked at Kinyu helplessly. Minato, can't you be more mature? Kinyu was helpless. However, a seal scroll fell into his hand. Boom. Under the white mist, the ferocious shark muscle and thunder knife fell into Kinyu's hands. Haha, the first move was the same shark and thunder sword of the 7 ninja swordsmen. Kinyu, you are really generous. Namikaze Minato couldn't help but brighten his eyes and said, why don't you, sir, remember the villain's fault and give it to Kakashi? Make up for a gift. No way. Kinyu put the shark's muscle and the thunder knife into the scroll again with his backhand. I'll keep it for my collection. Seeing the duck that reached his mouth fly away, Namikaze Minato was helpless, with a trace of regret on his face. However, compared to him, Kakashi and others couldn't hold their breath. The reputation of the 7 ninja swordsmen is also well known in the ninja world. The 7 ninja swords are their lifeblood. It has always been said that people are always there for the swords. However, now one of the 7 swords, Shark Muscle and Thunder Sword, fell into Kinyu's hands, which meant that 2 of the 7 ninja swordsmen died. Moreover, he still fell into the hands of the young man in front of him. Teacher! Uchiha Obaido was the first to lose his temper. Before he finished speaking, he saw Minato Namikaze nodding with a wry smile. Kakashi, you are out of luck this time. I originally planned to snatch food from the tiger's mouth. However, your guess is correct. One of the reasons why Kinyu became an elite jounin was because he killed 2 of the 7 mist ninjas. Having said this, Namikaze Minato looked at Kinyu and said, this time, due to the critical situation at Kanekun Bridge, we will be divided into 2 teams to carry out the mission. I am an independent person, and the 3 of you are led by Kinyu. What? Uchiha Obaido and others were stunned. Kakashi couldn't hold himself back and said, Minato-sensei, what matters when forming a team is cooperation. Kinyu may be very strong, but it might be a bit inappropriate to force him to form a team with us. Looking at Kakashi, who usually responded to Uchiha Obaido, and after saying these words, Namikaze Minato knew that Kakashi didn't want to stay with Kinyu at all. He sighed helplessly and said, Kakashi, this is an order from the 3rd Hokage, and it is an emergency deployment during wartime. Order? Kakashi was stunned for a moment, then said expressionlessly, since it is the 3rd Hokage's order, I will definitely obey it. But I want to remind you that no matter who you are, you must not break the rules, otherwise you will be despised. Looking at Kakashi, who looked like a dead father, Kinyu rolled his eyes helplessly and said, don't worry, I never follow the rules, and the orders of the 3rd Hokage are no exception. I don't want this captain anymore. For the next action, you will work in groups of 3, with Kakashi as the leader. I will act alone. Are you alone? Uchiha Obaido was confused and said anxiously, Kinyu, this is the order of the 3rd Hokage. If you disrupt the rules without authorization, I'm afraid you will be spurned by others when you return to the village. Spit. Kinyu waved his hands with a faint smile and said, so what? Why should I look at their faces? Don't say you're despised, even if the sky falls. I won't take it seriously. Minato, it's getting late, let's go. Facing these little brats, I'm getting a headache. You've done a great job as a hands-off boss. How about we switch, you lead the team yourself, and I'll kill the people. Chapter 55. You will die if you rush out. Looking at Kinyu, who didn't care at all, Kakashi and others were confused and couldn't reply. Namikaze Minato was helpless. Looking around at all the Konoha ninjas, I am afraid that only Kinyu had the courage to say such a thing. After all, not long ago, another legend in Konoha, Hadake Sakumo, died because he violated the rules and was accused of being unhappy. Lord Orochimaru, they have already set off. Shenfeng flashed out of the darkness. Really, it's really exciting. Orochimaru, who had changed his skin, walked out of Konoha village. After gently licking his dry lips with his scarlet tongue, he said, I thought it would take a lot of effort to get Minato Namikaze away, but now it seems that God is helping me. You are always following him. I will follow him soon. The Mangekyo Sharingan is destined to be mine. After leaving these words, Orochimaru disappeared into thin air. After Shenfeng and the belated Aburame Tojin looked at each other, he said, let's take action too. Don't forget to leak the information to Iwa Ninja. If we can kill Kinyu with the help of Iwa Ninja, then it couldn't be better. Danzo-sama said that Orochimaru is a double-edged sword. If it is not used properly, it may hurt us. Aburame took the root and nodded, saying, it's all for the root, let's go. After more than half a day, Kinyu and his party finally arrived at the outskirts of the target. Okay, let's rest here first and explain the current situation clearly. Namikaze Minato took out a roll of terrain maps. This time, our opponent is Iwa Ninja. We are separated from the Iwa Ninja village by a grass ninja village. Originally, the existence of the grass ninja village was a buffer for us in Konoha from the Iwa Ninja village. Once the Iwa Ninja village attacks, the grass ninja village will also rise. The resistance will work, giving us time for Konoha to provide defense. However, this time, when we discovered it, a large force of thousands of people from the Iwa Ninja village had already crossed the defense line of the Grass Ninja village and was only 3 kilometers away from our Konoha defense line. What? The expressions of Kakashi and others couldn't help but change. The biggest reason why Kusanagi village was able to survive in the cracks between the two major powers was the acquiescence of the two major powers. After all, if the borders of the two countries are connected, I am afraid that there will be no peace of mind at night. In order to ease the relationship between the Iwa Ninja village and Konoha, the Grass Ninja village became a necessary existence. However, now that the Iwa Ninja has unknowingly passed through the defense line of the Grass Ninja village, there are only 2 results. First, the Grass Ninja didn't even resist and was instantly destroyed by the Rock Ninja. Second, the Grass Ninja turned against the Rock Ninja and voluntarily gave up resistance. Of these 2 choices, in Kinyu's eyes, he is undoubtedly the second. After all, the most basic thing for a small country to act as a buffer is to have balanced combat power. Now in Konoha Ninja Village, 3 battlefields are open at the same time, and the Cloud Ninja Village is looking at them from behind. Anyone who is not a fool will think that Konoha Ninja Village will definitely lose in this situation. Compared with the thousands of troops in the Iwa Ninja Village, the dozens of people in Konoha undoubtedly seemed very shabby. Opening the door wide for future victors is the way for small countries to survive. I think you all understand the current situation. Since Kinyu doesn't want to be the captain, then leave it to Kakashi. Namikaze Minato glanced at Kinyu and said helplessly, Teacher's only hope is that after this war is over, I can still see you standing in front of me. If there's nothing else important, let's go. Kakashi and Uchiha Abido entered a battlefield of this level for the first time. But now, there is no choice but to bite the bullet and set off. The 4 of them jumped into the woods in a flash. Kinyu stretched out, glanced at the jungle behind him, and smiled playfully. I really hope I can catch a big fish this time, but I'm almost bored to death when small shrimps come out all the time. After saying these words, Kinyu followed him without stopping. Kakashi rushed out a few hundred meters away. When he saw Kinyu arriving late, he couldn't help but frown and said, "Follow the team, I'm the captain now." Looking at Kakashi with a proud face, Kinyu rolled his eyes and said, "Your captain is still given to you by me. Don't forget, I don't care about the rules you." Kakashi was furious. Namikaze Minato looked at this scene and couldn't help but feel a headache. He really regretted letting Kinyu and Kakashi team up. Even he couldn't get Kinyu to cooperate well, let alone Kakashi. "Stop." Kakashi suddenly stopped and raised his hands to signal. Namikaze Minato nodded with satisfaction and looked at the big tree in the distance. In his perception, there is an enemy hidden here. "Kakashi, let's discuss tactics first. The opponent has a lot of people," Namikaze Minato suggested. Kakashi glanced at Kinyu and said, "Teacher, we don't need it anymore. We are in a hurry now. If we continue to discuss it, we may let the enemy escape. I happen to develop a new technique, which has the same name as the teacher." As soon as he finished speaking, Kakashi's hands flew up quickly. As the last magic seal fell, crackling arcs of electricity condensed instantly. Chidori. Being able to develop A-level ninjutsu at the age of more than 10 years old, he is definitely a leader among his peers. Feeling this huge and raging power, Abido and Lin's expressions changed. "Kakashi, the number of enemies is unknown. This ninjutsu is very strong, but you will endure many unknown changes," Namikaze Minato reminded in a deep voice. "Kinyu, please help me with this." Kinyu rolled his eyes and said, "Minato, you really like to throw dirty water on me. I can honestly tell you that this Chidori is very fast, but your experience and neural reaction speed cannot be balanced at all. If you go out now, you will only die." Listening to this merciless blow, Namikaze Minato smiled bitterly and regretted letting Kinyu interrupt. "HMPH, this is the ninjutsu I developed. I know it best." Kakashi snorted coldly and said, "What are the disadvantages?" "I don't need your random comments. Minato-sensei, if you cover me, I can kill them all in just a moment." Looking at Kakashi, who had made up his mind, Minato Namikaze nodded helplessly. Boom. Kakashi's right hand suddenly stuck into the ground, and the violent arc shattered the ground. The next moment, the whole person shot out like a cannonball. With the activated cells of Lei Dun, the speed of his attack was obviously getting faster and faster. "Kinyu, just watch, this is my strength." The words were mingled with thunder. Seeing Kakashi rushing out so arrogantly, even the Iwa ninja who was hiding behind the big tree was surprised. "You bastard, you look down on me like this and dare to attack me head-on." The Iwa ninja showed a ferocious expression and quickly threw out a large shuriken with his backhand. However, as soon as these shurikens approached Kakashi, they were knocked away by Namikaze Minato with his shurikens. Chapter 56 Flower-Style Chidori. 1, 10, 15. Your attack exposed your whereabouts. Kakashi's figure passed quickly. 15 shadow clones were torn apart in an instant. His eyes suddenly turned and locked behind the big tree. The sight like a thunderous blow shocked Lin and Uchiha Abido. This is completely beyond their knowledge. "Someone is coming." Kinyu suddenly spoke, tensing all his nerves. Uchiha Abido's expression suddenly changed, and soon he saw a figure emerging from the ground. 4. The Iwa ninja's expression was stagnant, and he had not yet seen all the faces clearly. A kunai burst through the air and struck. Phew! The Iwa ninja turned into white mist in response and dispersed between heaven and earth. Namikaze Minato's expression suddenly changed, and he shouted urgently, "Kinyu, they are left to you." As soon as he finished speaking, Namikaze Minato disappeared like a ghost. The next moment, he appeared again, already in front of Kakashi. The bright sharp blade quickly enlarged in Kakashi's pupils. Under this extremely fast impact, he had no way to dodge. Phew! As soon as Namikaze Minato appeared, he immediately pressed against Kakashi's chest, directly blocking his extreme speed. However, the bright sharp blade also scratched Kakashi's shoulder, and the blood spattered, which looked shocking. The next moment, Namikaze Minato disappeared into thin air with Kakashi like a ghost. Kakashi, are you okay? Lin's face turned pale. As soon as she took half a step, she saw Kinyu stretching and standing up. It's my turn. As soon as he finished speaking, crackling thunder arcs filled the air, and Kinyu disappeared out of thin air like a ghost. Disappeared. The Iwa ninja missed his attack, and the memories of his clones flooded into his mind. The next moment his expression suddenly changed. In the memory of retaliation, he saw two chilling faces. Golden flashes and bloody Asuras. However, compared with the golden flash, the bloody Asura, who has recently become famous in the ninja world, is even more frightening. After dormant for more than 10 years, he killed nearly 200 ninjas in 2 battles. This kind of achievement can definitely be called brilliant when looking at the third ninja war escape. A thought flashed through Iwa Ninja's mind, and the moment he turned around quickly, the face he saw made his pupils shrink. Chidori. Kinyu's right hand was entangled with lightning, and without any fancy, he cut directly to the Iwa Ninja's neck. Phew! The huge head was thrown away directly, and the large tree with a diameter of half a meter was cut off in the middle by the lightning. Under the big tree that collapsed with a roar, Kinyu's figure was clearly visible. He caught the head that fell in midair and disappeared into thin air again. Disappeared again? This lightning escape technique is simply too fast, not much different from Minato-sensei. Uchiha Obaido couldn't hold back his anger. Are you looking for him? Kinyu's voice suddenly sounded. The head with round eyes was thrown away by Kinyu, and blood splashed down, staining the grass red. At the same time, an inexplicable fishy stench filled the air. Looking at the horror on this Iwa ninja's face, he might have seen something extremely terrifying at the moment of death. Did you use Chidori just now? Kakashi suddenly spoke. Uchiha Obaido and Lin couldn't help but be startled. Only Minato Namikaze smiled bitterly from the side. In the eyes of outsiders, the Chidori developed by Kakashi seems to be able to reach a level in difficulty. However, Kinyu can even learn S-level ninjutsu instantly. Moreover, Jiraiya learned that Kinyu summoned the 3 powerful forces of Maya Amu Mountain for the first time using his psychic technique. It can be said that the mere Chidori is really not difficult at all for Kinyu. Good eyesight. Kinyu smiled warmly. There was a crackling sound from his right hand, and at the same time, violent lightning flashed rapidly. The lightning was raging, giving people the feeling of tearing everything around them into pieces. Chidori. Seeing the scene in front of him, even Uchiha Obaido, who was at the end of the crane, knew that this was Kakashi, who was so stinky just now. He was talking about it. It is said to be the latest developed A-level ninjutsu. The next moment, the electric arc wrapped around his hand stagnated for a moment, and then quickly spread throughout his body. For a moment, Kinyu felt as if he was bathed in thunder. This is Chidori Ryu. This is the Hound Gun. This is the Chidori sword technique. Seeing Kinyu demonstrating, Namikaze Minato's cheeks stiffened and twitched without rhythm. That's enough. Kakashi finally lost his temper. A moment ago, he was full of arrogance and boasted about the Chidori. He also talked about speed as the teacher's name. Now, watching Kinyu's fancy changes, the Chidori style. This invisible slap made a snapping sound. Kakashi, don't worry, Kinyu just means well. Namikaze Minato said with a bitter smile. Kinyu patted Minato on the shoulder and said, sorry, I did it on purpose. As a ninja, if you don't understand caution at all, you will put your teammates to death. Now, do you still want to be the captain? The expressions of everyone present could not help but froze. Lin quickly said, Kinyu, if Kakashi didn't mean it, he would have succeeded. Lin is right. Kakashi made a mistake this time, but you should not deprive Kakashi of his position as captain. What's more, I also made a mistake just now. Uchiha Obaido echoed hastily. Seeing this rare scene, Kinyu and Namikaze Minato also felt surprised. On weekdays, Kakashi and Uchiha Obaido are incompatible with each other. The minority obeys the majority. I am always fair. If you help Kakashi plead for mercy, then forget it this time, Kinyu said nonchalantly. In his eyes, the position of captain is completely useless and dispensable. After all, he would not accept any orders. Nohara Rin and Uchiha Obaido secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Kakashi, you are injured. Can you let me treat you? Lin looked at Kakashi's wound that almost hurt his muscles and bones, with a look of urgency on his face. Kakashi reacted in his daze, looking past everyone and locking on Kinyu. I don't want this captain anymore, but I will soon surpass you and master the more powerful Chidori. When the time comes, I hope you can give up the captain position to me. Listening to these determined words, Kinyu touched the tip of his nose helplessly. I was thinking about whether to tell him the truth. I also have a thunder escape unicorn that can reach heaven, earth, and air every second. Chapter 57. This is a game. Looking at Kakashi with a determined look on his face, Namikaze Minato felt helpless. I just hope that Kinyu will stop irritating Kakashi's weak mind. Okay, Lin, you are going to treat Kakashi now, and then we have to go our separate ways, Namikaze Minato said. Originally, I was quite worried about you, but with Kinyu here, I believe it won't be anything serious. After saying these words, Namikaze Minato picked up his backpack and disappeared like a ghost call. Uchiha Obaido breathed a sigh of relief, sat down next to Kinyu, and said a little nervously, Kinyu, I didn't expect you to hide it so deeply. Sharingan, powerful thunder escape. No wonder he can become an elite jounin with this strength. He is indeed better than some people. Speaking of this, Uchiha Obaido couldn't help but look at Kakashi. His intention was obviously to use Kinyu to fake the power of the tiger. I don't know who it was just now. I was stunned when the enemy attacked me. Who always keeps protecting Lin? Kakashi was obviously angry and vented his anger on Uchiha Obaido. Uchiha Obaido became angry and said anxiously, I just had sand in my eyes. It was Kinyu who stole my limelight. Seeing the two people at war with each other, Kinyu was helpless. Children really don't need a reason for talking nonsense. Lin, has Kakashi's wound stopped bleeding? Kinyu looked at Kakashi's wound. Lin is the medical ninja of this team. However, medical ninjutsu is obviously just an introduction. To learn medical ninjutsu, the prerequisite is to have precise chakra control ability. This threshold alone is the cream of the crop. Lin can reach this point, which is already considered very good. Kakashi's wound is a bit deep and it will take some time. Lin wiped the hot sweat from her forehead. Kakashi frowned slightly and said, Lin, if you're tired, take a rest first. Don't worry about the injury for now. I'm fine. As he spoke, Kakashi took out the bandage. However, as soon as he moved, he saw Kinyu's hand pressing on his shoulder. Let me do it. I'm just a drag on you. If you get hurt, I'll have to take care of you. Kinyu turned the chakra on his right hand. The magic of Palm Immortal was activated instantly. Feeling the sting on his shoulder fade away quickly, and the wound healing even more quickly, not to mention Kakashi and Obaido Uchiha, even Lin, who was a medical ninja, couldn't help but be confused. Kinyu, are you also a medical ninja? Lin couldn't hold back her anger. As a medical ninja, she is well aware of the difficulty involved. Now Kinyu can heal wounds quickly, which requires at least reaching the level of an advanced medical ninja. Let's count it as half. Seeing that the wound on Kakashi's shoulder healed, Kinyu dispersed the chakra in his hand and said, Next, we are going to catch big fish. 30 minutes later, Kinyu and his party entered the bamboo forest. Feeling the silence around him, Kakashi suddenly reached out and stopped everyone. Earth release, earth thrust. A series of earth thorns spurt out from under the feet, and the dense posture can easily pierce a person into a hornet's nest spread. Kinyu pursed his lips slightly. All this was not much different from the original work. This gave Kinyu as if he had the ability to predict the future. The four people moved instantly and quickly dispersed around. However, everyone's eyes fell on Nohara Lin intentionally or unintentionally. Nohara Lin landed on the water and just stood firm. The water surface behind him immediately stirred up ripples. The Iwa ninja, who used the camouflage invisibility technique, appeared like a ghost and immediately captured Nohara Lin. Haha, 3 stupid young men can't even protect a woman. Don't worry, we will treat her well. After Dashi dropped these words, he quickly retreated. Huo Guang, who secretly used Earth escape cover, was no exception. For a moment, the huge bamboo forest fell into deathly silence. There really is an ambush. What Kinyu said is right. If the Iwa ninja doesn't go back, the other party will definitely try to move out. At the same time, when they see that we are too young, they can't help but take action. Nohara Lin said in the dark flash out. I don't know how they would feel if they knew that it was Kinyu's shadow clone that was captured. Having said this, even Kakashi looked at Kinyu with a hint of silence. Kakashi considers himself a genius in Konoha and has a good mind. If he asks himself about the younger generation, 9 out of 10 people can see through it. However, facing Kinyu in front of him, Kakashi felt like he couldn't figure it out. Kinyu is really good at predicting things, so what should we do now? Chase him immediately? Uchiha Abido looked slightly excited. As long as he could see Kakashi deflated, that was enough. No, we will capture the king first before we capture the thieves, and we will catch them all. Kinyu smiled playfully. On the other hand, firelight and boulders, carrying Kinyu's clone, landed in a rock cave not far away. This girl is really quiet. She seems to know that those 3 guys can't be saved from us. Dashi said with a joking smile. Now, what we have to do is to use illusions on her and gather information as soon as possible. As long as we can find out the number and layout of Konoha, we will be the heroes of this battle. Huo Guang placed Kinyu's clone in front of the wall, and at the same time signaled Dashi to cast an illusion. As the double surgical seals quickly flew down and fell, Dashi shouted coldly, "Illusion hypnosis." A mental wave spread across Dashi's body. Soon he saw the quiet Kinyu, and his expression instantly became dull. When Dashi and Huo Guang saw this, they couldn't help but be startled. This hypnosis was so smooth. Dashi, it seems we are lucky. We should be able to dig out the information before the large forces arrive. Huo Guang's face showed a hint of excitement. As he spoke, he walked towards Kinyu. At the same time, he reached out his right hand and gently lifted Kinyu's chin. The next moment, the smile that caught his eye made him look stiff. What's wrong? Am I acting like one? A small sound swept through like a hurricane at this moment. The expressions of Dashi and Huo Guang changed drastically in an instant. Who are you? Face this girl in front of you. No. It should be said that when this male voice came out, they instantly understood that this was a game. Haha, you will know when you go out and take a look. Kinyu smiled jokingly. The next moment, his body made a bang and turned into white mist that filled the sky, dissipating between heaven and earth. The violent scene made Dashi and Huo Guang nervous to the extreme. Without any time to think, he quickly pulled away and ran out quickly. However, as soon as the 2 of them stepped into the cave entrance, they felt the blazing fire coming towards them. Chapter 58 Bloody Asura. Art Fire Escape Hao Fireball. Thunder Release Chidori. Abido Uchiha's hands flew quickly, and the hot chakra gathered in his mouth, and he spit it out directly. The fireball, with a diameter of 5 to 6 meters, hit the hole head-on in a rolling manner. Earth Release Earth Splaying Technique. Huo Guang's expression suddenly changed. However, as the Jonin of Iwa Ninja Village, their strength cannot be underestimated. What's more, his rich combat experience is beyond the reach of ordinary people. His hands flew up and formed a series of magic seals, and then he slapped the ground with his backhand boom. The solid rock formation ground cracked, and immediately the rock formation rose up, forming an earth wall that directly collided with a fireball. The fireball was smashed into pieces, and the blazing firelight splashed down, forming a rain of fire. Seeing that the incoming attack was blocked, the fire and boulders dispersed and fled in an instant. However, compared with Dashi, who has the art of camouflage and visibility, the way the fire escapes is obviously a bit lacking. As soon as he jumped out of the cave, he saw the lightning rapidly enlarging in his pupils. Kakashi used the Chidori's surprise attack stance to attack him head-on. "Kid, you're looking for death." Huo Guang's face changed drastically and he roared urgently. The ninja sword hidden in his sleeve struck Kakashi head-on. The method of this attack was undoubtedly aimed at risking one's life. In the eyes of the fire, facing this kind of life and death battle, the kid in front of him looked different. But compared with experienced ninjas like them, this kind of life-threatening battle can't compare with their psychological quality. However, as soon as this idea came to his mind, the next thing he saw were two black shadows rushing towards him. Thunder release. Chidori Ryu Shuriken. The two shurikens were entangled with violent lightning arcs, instantly piercing the sky, and hit the ninja swords in the flaming hands first. Dang! The crisp sound of metal collision suddenly sounded, and the huge impact caused the ninja sword in Huo Guang's hand to fly up. Seeing this violent scene and Huo Guang's expression changing dramatically, Kakashi's eyes couldn't help but light up. The close distance and the extreme speed brought by Chidori's activated cells made Kakashi appear in front of the fire in an instant. Chidori! Without any hint of fancy, the right hand wrapped with lightning pierced directly through Huo Guang's chest like lightning. Phew! The blood splattered, giving people a shocking feeling. Under the blood-filled sky, there was an even more horrifying smell. Watching Chidori's first kill, a rare smile appeared on Kakashi's face. "Yes, it's you." The intermittent sound of fire suddenly sounded. Looking at Kinyu, who was helping him not far away, his expression became a little more crazy. "Dashi, run away quickly. Go back and tell Master Huan too that the bloody Asura is coming, and tell them to run away quickly." Hysterical roars echoed throughout the world. Dashi, who had used his secret technique to become invisible, originally planned to let the firelight attract everyone's attention. Then, he waited for an opportunity to kill Kinyu and others. But now that he heard this name, he turned around and ran away without any hesitation. Bloody Asura. That was a battle narrated by the next Raikage from the Cloud Ninja Village. Bloody Asura combines powerful offensive ninjutsu, defensive ninjutsu, and illusions into one. Anyone below the shadow level must run away if they encounter him. From the beginning, many ninja villages did not believe this information. But after learning that the Mist Ninja Village was also interested in the passes behind Konoha, he went on a sneak attack alone. After paying for two monsters who walked out of the blood mist and were known as the Seven Ninja Swordsmen, the evil reputation of the Bloody Asura has been firmly established in the ninja world. What happened? Uchiha Obito originally planned to protect Nohara Lin. However, the sudden scene shook their nerves. What were you talking about just now? Who is the Bloody Asura? Kakashi's expression also changed. He grabbed Huo Guang's collar and asked urgently. However, before he could get the result, a sound broke through the air from behind. "Kakashi, be careful!" Nohara Lin shouted urgently. Uchiha Obito also rushed out in a hurry. It's a pity that all this seems pale and feeble when faced with the big stone that hides the figure. Looking at Kakashi, who didn't even know where his enemy was, a playful smile appeared on Oshi's face. This is his tried and tested secret technique, which is completely comparable to the silent killing technique of the Mist Ninja. In his eyes, it was simply impossible to continue to defend now that Kakashi's attack power had just dissipated. The only thing she could do was to become a hostage in his hands. "I see you." The small voice swept away like a hurricane at this moment. Dashi's nerves suddenly became extremely tense. He hurriedly looked behind him and saw a figure wrapped in lightning, like a ghost, appearing behind him first. When the four eyes met, the scarlet eyes were as red as the blood moon, making people feel as if they had fallen into an ice cellar. This is the Sharingan. Dashi looked stiff. He finally understood why the other party saw him. However, at such a close distance, everything pales in comparison. Kinyu's backhand, under the flow of lightning, the 1,000 birds bloomed in an instant, turning into a beam of lightning, which penetrated Dashi's chest first. Phew! Blood splattered and turned into a huge blood mist. Oishi Yuan stared, his face full of disbelief. When they went to the battlefield, they also thought about the consequences of death. But I never thought that I would eventually fall into the hands of a kid who was only 13 or 14 years old. Boom. The corpse fell heavily to the ground and blood spattered down, which looked shocking. Kinyu wiped off the blood on Dashi's body and said, "Okay, we will form a team of 3 in the Iwa Ninja village. Now that all 3 of them have been killed by us, the other party should have contacted the main force. It will be a tough battle next." Uchiha, Abido, and the other 3 looked stiff. They were considered victorious just now. But except for Kakashi, who killed an enemy, Nohara Lin only used medical ninjutsu slightly. Uchiha Abido also used a fire escape. If the other party really comes with a large force, then what awaits them may be a dead end. Kinyu, it's going to rain today. Do we need to retreat temporarily? Kakashi hesitated and said, compared with Uchiha Abido and Nohara Rin, what he cares about most now is the firelight and the bloody Asura in Dashi's mouth. To be able to make even a Jounin feel frightened, he was definitely on the same level as Namikaze Minato. Most importantly, there were only 6 people present. Except for the 2 dead Iwanin, Kakashi and Uchiha Abido are incompatible. Of course, Kakashi knows how much he weighs. As for Nohara Rin, except for being good at medical ninjutsu, her combat skills and ninjutsu are not as good as those of elite Chunin, let alone 2 rock ninjas who are frightened by the news. After elimination, only Uchiha Kinyu is left. This man, who had been a saltfish for more than 10 years, suddenly appeared and became more than just an elite Jounin. Even Namikaze Minato, the golden shining man who was hailed as the most likely to become the next Hokage, was in awe. It gives people the feeling that they are completely like peers. This made Kakashi think that the bloody Asura, who frightened the Iwa ninja, was absolutely inseparable from Kinyu. Chapter 59, Explosive Escape Ninja Hunt. Kinyu, I want to know if you are the bloody Asura they call you. Kakashi was the first to lose his temper. Uchiha Abido and Nohara Lin couldn't help but be startled and looked at Kinyu. The exclamation just now also made them suspicious. At the same time, he was also eager to know whether Kinyu was the bloody Asura that made the 2 rock ninjas fearful. Can I say no? Kinyu was helpless. Now that I think about it, I really want to beat UAI to death. Don't choose any name. Choose a bloody Asura who is worthless. Most important. The speed of this spread is too fast. In just 7 or 8 days, the news spread throughout the ninja world, making Kinyu wonder if there were paparazzi around him. Kakashi and others couldn't help but be startled. Facing Kinyu's vague answer, I really felt confused. However, before they could ask again, a series of piercing sounds struck from all directions. Be careful, it's an enemy attack. Kakashi shouted urgently and took the lead in drawing out the short chakra knife from his back. Under the infusion of chakra, the dagger emitted a white light, like a flying butterfly. Dang dang dang! The crisp sound of metal collision echoed between heaven and earth, and sparks even flew out. The violent scene made Uchiha Abido confused again. However, this time in panic, Uchiha Abido was obviously determined to protect Nohara Rin. The figure swayed and appeared in front of Nohara Rin. His hands flew quickly, followed by a series of magic seals. The blazing fireball spit out and directly deflected the oncoming kunai. As for Kinyu, he was the most relaxed among the four. Under the raging lightning arcs on his body, the kunai that was slightly close to his body were directly blown away by the lightning arcs. The first wave of attacks passed quickly. When Kakashi and others stood firm, the entire basin was filled with dense figures in all directions. 10, 50, 100, 200, 300. Uchiha Obito looked at the densely packed figures around him and his face turned pale. This number is at least almost 100 times their number. Kakashi, this can't be the backup force of the entire Iwa Ninja. There are so many people. Uchiha Obito couldn't help but move in the direction of Kakashi. Nohara Lin on the side was no exception. Faced with such a menacing and large number of people, the existence of the three of them made everything pale and powerless. Haha, I didn't expect the four of you to be able to defeat Hyuguang and Dashi's team. It seems that you are indeed the bloody Asura Uchiha Kinyu who has been rumored recently. A ninja wearing a mask jumped down from the tree. As soon as he stood firm, a high-temperature steam rose up from his body. Kinyu frowned and quickly searched for his knowledge of Iwa Ninja in his mind. During this process, the expressions of Kakashi and the other three were stagnant. If they were guessing just now they have got confirmation from the other party's mouth. What's wrong? Judging from your expressions, you don't even recognize the bloody Asura, who has recently become famous on the battlefield. The steam man smiled jokingly. It's no wonder. It's rumored that the new genius of the Uchiha clan, Uchiha Kinyu, surpasses his predecessor Uchiha Shisui. In the battle at the Northwest Pass, the thunderbolt killed hundreds of people in an instant. The genjutsu shocked the tailed beasts, the black flames shook people's hearts, and he also killed 2 of the 7 ninja swordsmen. This achievement is so gorgeous and shocking. At this point, the steam man showed disdain and said, "Tell me, is this kind of thing credible? I just don't believe it. This is just Yuko no Ha. In this desperate situation, you have created so-called geniuses and strong men in order to restore the disadvantage on the battlefield." The hysterical words contained a trace of madness. Kinyu finally remembered the origin of the rock ninja in front of him. I thought that the ninja leading the team this time would be Unoki's cheap son Huang too. Unexpectedly, a ninja hunter with the blood inheritance limit and explosive escape would come. Explosive escape is a very special type of blood limit. Once the attack touches the enemy, it can cause a big explosion. The power of the explosion is measured by the size of the chakra. According to the description in the original work, this hunter possesses shadow-level strength. Otherwise, he would not be targeted by Bei Liuhu. Boy, it seems you have figured out my identity. Shu smiled ferociously. You read that right. I'm the explosive escape ninja hunter. I don't care whether you are a bloody Asura or a white Asura. If you don't want to suffer, I hope you can just surrender and capture me. Don't let me waste too much energy. As soon as the words fell, the atmosphere in the venue changed instantly. Hundreds of rock ninjas all locked on Kinyu's body. It's similar to the explosive ninja hunter. In their eyes, Kinyu was just a genius and strong man fabricated by Konoha who had no way out. Kinyu! Kakashi couldn't hold back his anger. They didn't believe what Kari said. However, they were both in Konoha, but they had never heard of Uchiha Kinyu's deeds. At this juncture, it is inevitable to have doubts. There are 365 people in total, half of whom are shadow clones. I wonder if your Iwa Ninja village likes to pretend to be big-headed ghosts. Kinyu suddenly smiled. Don't you say you're not afraid? It takes so much effort to deal with me and 3 little brats. A small voice swept over like a hurricane at this moment. The leader hunter's expression couldn't help but froze. This basin covers at least several kilometers of open space. The Iwa ninjas took on a surrounding posture and blocked the entire basin. Moreover, When he came, Kari had already issued an order for everyone to create at least one shadow clone. Although it will weaken its own strength, it will also increase the sense of numbers and give people a sense of lineup pressure. However, the current dispersed lineup was seen through by the opponent at a glance. In terms of numbers as well as strategy, everything was clearly stated. If it were any enemy, there would be absolutely no way to do it. Is it the Sharingan? Q met Kinyu's eyes. However, he quickly thought of something important and quickly looked away. His expression darkened and he said, "The blood-colored 9 Madatama Sharingan is completely different from the eyes of the ordinary Uchiha clan. You are really special." Chapter 60. Take care of yourself first. It's a bit special, otherwise how can it be different? Kinyu smiled warmly. His eyes suddenly turned past Kari and landed outside the encirclement. Are you all here? It looks like it's about to start. Shu couldn't help but be startled and then laughed unbridled. Boy, do you mean to start suffering death? It doesn't matter if you see that half of the people here are shadow clones. We are all elites among the rock ninjas, but we are not comparable to those like you, the famous dog thieves. Having said this, Hunting raised his hand and made a motion of wiping his neck. Boy, just wait to die. Kakashi and others' expressions turned pale. The three of them subconsciously turned their backs, but the corner of their eyes was locked on Uchiha Kinyu. Facing this kind of fatal situation, no one would be confident. Only Uchiha Kinyu could still look normal. The time is almost over. Kinyu suddenly spoke. The expressions of everyone present could not help but froze. The leader, Shu, laughed unscrupulously. Boy, you really know how to joke. What would you do in this situation? Do you think someone can save you? Faced with these words, the figure of Namikaze Minato flashed in the minds of Kakashi and others. In their eyes, they didn't understand Kinyu, but the deeds and reputation of Konoha's golden shining Namikaze Minato are clear. If you can get his support, it may not be difficult to escape. I'm sorry, it seems I'm too low-key and easily overlooked. Kinyu smiled playfully and raised his hand to point to the sky. Look carefully, who is surrounded? The incomprehensible words made even Kakashi and others unable to remain calm and hurriedly raised their heads to look at the sky. The moment he looked into it, his pupils suddenly shrank, and his eye sockets were almost split open. Boom! The violent thunder suddenly sounded, giving people a deafening feeling. Black clouds pressed down on the city in the sky, forming a huge whirlpool, and lightning arcs swam like electric snakes. In the center of the whirlpool, the illusory unicorn figure was even more shocking. At this moment, everyone present suddenly woke up. What Kari said just now is definitely not false. The accumulated thunder in the sky exudes a destructive aura. I'm afraid it's the rumored super lightning escape that can kill hundreds of Kumo ninjas instantly. Boy, are you crazy? If this attack really hits, even you will die. Shu's expression changed drastically. As soon as they arrived, they were attracted by Kinyu's name of Bloody Shira. Completely ignoring the changes in the sky, the nerves of Kakashi and others were as tense as strings. The scene before them was beyond their expectations. If it really falls, just as Kari said, they will surely die. Haha, you don't need to worry about our safety. What you have to do is to care about how to survive this attack. Kinyu smiled playfully, flipped his right hand, and the thunder knife was directly channeled. With a flip of his hand, the thunder knife, infused with Kinyu's chakra, pierced directly through the void. Boom! The backlog of thunder in the sky was instantly drawn. Roar! A roar of thunder ripped through the sky and earth like a roaring beast. The next moment, the unicorn lurking in the thunder suddenly broke through the clouds and swooped down. The speed was so fast that it arrived in the blink of an eye, making it impossible to escape. Kakashi and the other three suddenly turned pale. The moment the lightning struck, all that was left in front of him was thunder in the sky. The eardrums also started to roar. His only thought was to close his eyes and wait for death. Boom! Thunder light shot into the sky, splashing out like a frenzied wave all over the sky. The raging posture swept everything within 10,000 meters. Whether it's trees or Iwa ninjas thinking about escaping on the periphery. Unfortunately, everything pales in comparison to the blow in front of him. The lightning that fell overwhelmingly drowned everyone in an instant. Even the Rocky Mountains were directly shattered by the violent thunder. It was already a minute or two before everything returned to calm. The accumulated lead clouds all over the sky dispersed, and the wandering thunder light disappeared. All that was left was a charred basin and a mess of woodland. The center, where Kilin hit, sank like a funnel. An illusory huge figure stood among the ruins. In addition to Kinyu, there are also 3 people named Kakashi. Okay, if you're not scared to death, just open your eyes, Kinyu said lightly. Kakashi and others' muscles all twitched involuntarily. The next moment, I realized that there was no pain at all in my body. We are not dead? The attack just now was devastating. Uchiha Obaido hurriedly opened his eyes. Looking at Susanoo who enveloped them, his expression became stiff, and his eyes almost burst open. This scene was too shocking for him. Did it block the attack for us at the critical moment? Nohara Lin's expression turned livid. They looked at Susanoo who was covered in blood. They finally understood why Kinyu was called the Bloody Asura. The power of the lightning escape just now may have reached the Super S level. This Shira was actually unscathed and has a stronger defense. Kakashi looked livid, remembering that not long ago he was showing off his so-called Chidori in front of Kinyu. This cheek is a bit unbearable. If there was a crack in the ground here, he could not wait to crawl right into it. This is Susanoo, one of the eye techniques of the main Jikyo Sharingan, Kinyu said lightly. However, he quickly frowned, showing an unexpected look. Kinyu, are you saying that if I activate the Sharingan, I will also be able to obtain this method? Uchiha Obaido said excitedly with a smile on his face. Kakashi, did you hear that? We, the Uchiha clan, are geniuses. I will catch up with you soon. Kakashi's expression darkened slightly, and he couldn't help but look into Kinyu's eyes. The moment their eyes met, his whole soul seemed to be pulled by an invisible big hand. It seemed that with just one look from Kinyu, his soul would be absorbed. Kakashi, are you okay? Are you frightened by my potential? Uchiha Obaido said, patting Kakashi on the shoulder. It was a rare opportunity to find a way to show off one's power, but he didn't want to let it go. Forget it. Kakashi woke up from his daze, glanced at Kinyu, and said, his is not an ordinary Sharingan. If anyone can do it, you Uchiha clan, it won't be the first time that the title of Blood Shira appears. I think it takes very powerful means to reach this point. I'm afraid you won't have the chance to reach it in your lifetime, you. Uchiha Obaido suddenly became angry. However, there was no way to refute it. He was not stupid. With Kakashi's words, he clearly understood the key. All right, legends, that's it for today. If you're ready for the next chapter, smash that like button and flood the comments right now. Remember, we've got 3 days to prove this story needs to continue. Subscribe so you don't miss the drop, and I'll meet you in the next audiobook.